In a towering grand chamber, a young man fires back, wondering how anyone could possibly call it right to fight their own kind. Joshua, the knight's production mage, fires a sharp accusation at Luke, claiming he's trying to grab territory for himself. Loge, the knight's captain, slams his fist into the table, furious because someone dares to call him a thief. A flashback snaps into focus, Loge charging in like a fearless commander as he battles the Demon King's army head-on. A grim panel flashes to the viewer. This is the moment everything starts to shift, and his change truly begins. The flashback rips open Loge's fall into a corrupt noble life, endless parties, decadent nights, and nothing but excess. An off-panel dissenter gets brutally shut up by Luke after they call the plan an invasion. Joshua grits his teeth, stunned that Loeb, the oldest member he once revered, has turned into nothing but non-stop complaining. He slams his fist down and refuses to use his magic to make tools that would harm innocent people. With raw anguish, he begs Log to crawl back into the man he used to be. Joshua flat out says he won't work for any order that goes around attacking its own people. Locke's face is carved in silent rage as he listens to the play. He snaps Joshua's name out like a blade, cutting him off before he can even speak. Loeb spits out, dripping with contempt, that he doesn't need Joshua at all. He snatches a dagger, snarling that it's Joshua's fault they can't fight because their tools are total garbage. Other knights start whispering, and they're nodding along. Production mages are seen as gold breakers, replaceable pieces waiting to be swapped out. The dagger clatters onto the floor, and Lodge screams that this is exactly why they can't fight. Joshua leans in and whispers to Lodge, asking if he's really out of the order for good. Loeb coldly shuts them down, making it clear he doesn't need a single person who won't follow his orders. He lands one last brutal insult, snarling at the filthy goldbreaker to get lost. A warm memory hits, back when he was still young, praising Joshua's swords like they were the best blades in the entire world. Defeated and crushed, Joshua whispers Lodge's name under his breath and resigns himself to what's coming. With shoulders hanging low, he whips around and strides out of the meeting room. As he storms out, the cruel laughter of his old comrades keeps booming behind him. Joshua dropped the order for good, then headed south straight for the front lines, chasing any chance to work. He lets out a heavy sigh, wondering how in the world he's going to survive off his production magic. With his one-of-a-kind power, he can forge almost anything from nothing but raw materials. Traveling light, he leaves everything behind and rides out with only his tiny slime buddy, Whiz. A sharp rustle bursts from the nearby bushes, and he jerks back in pure alarm. He creeps toward the noise, and his slime buddy slithers along right behind him. From the tangled foliage, a battered blonde young woman stumbles into view, torn up and barely holding herself together. When he sees the blood, he bolts to her side and demands to know what the heck happened. She whirls around and barks a ruthless command stop right there. As the men come barreling closer, 3 slave hunters burst onto the scene, bragging loud about the jewel they finally nabbed. Armed men tower over the captured wolf pelt, radiating pure menace. Joshua yanks the woman behind him in a flash, then charges straight at the illegal slave hunters. Once they spot the witness, the hunters panic, then decide the only way out is to kill them. Joshua's eyes sharpen with calm focus. Then he thrusts out his hand and barks one command, commanding everything to absorb. The moment the axes drop, the hunters' hands are gone in a blink, just like that, and pure confusion floods their faces. They shout in total disbelief, scrambling their brains as they wonder where the heck their weapons vanished to. Joshua breaks down exactly how he tears the absorbed axis apart and rebuilds it from the ground up. With his counterattack primed, he shouts the name of his brand new weapon, Steel Arrow. A burst of razor-fast projectiles rockets ahead, slicing straight through the helpless hunters who never saw it coming. That blonde woman stared in shock, stunned as he wiped them all out with a single strike. Joshua admits his nerves were through the roof, but the opponents he faced weren't exactly intimidating. In the middle of the chaos, the captured wolf snaps its chains and bolts for freedom. He swivels toward the woman, smiling gently, and quickly checks to see if she's all right. Stunned, she blurts out her thanks for saving her, then her strength snaps and she collapses from her injuries. He barrels straight to her side, already raising his hands to cast a healing spell. As the magic kicks in, she murmurs that it's turning everything into a cozy, warm feeling. He stares at that gut wound and fears it'll split open again, so he braces himself to deal with it fast. With a flick of his craft ability, he snaps clean bandages into existence in an instant. He asks her permission to bandage the wound, and she instantly says yes. He tightens the bandage around her, then tells her this'll stay put for a while. She gushes her gratitude, leans in, and tells him her name. Ilya, a demon. He He tells her his name, Joshua, and she murmurs it back like it's slipping straight into her heart. Blood drains from Ilya's body, and she wobbles on the edge. Joshua lunges in fast, catching her and holding her steady. Terrified she'd get targeted again, he steps in and offers to walk her all the way home. She blurts out an apology for the hassle, then gladly accepts his generous offer. To calm her down, he snaps his fingers and summons his slime buddy, Wiz, to haul his backpack. Then he scoops up a flustered Ilya like it's nothing, hauling her into his arms to carry her away. She's caught off guard, face flushing, as that sudden, intimate move hits her straight in the nerves. After he asks if she'd rather go another way, she nods quietly, then lets him carry her. With the fallen hunter still fresh in his mind, he steels himself and goes to reclaim their weapons and armor. With one sharp gesture, every gear disappears in a magical poof like it never existed. He explains to a baffled Ilya that he crammed everything into a magic vault. Once the deal was done, they finally burst into motion and tore through the forest. Ilya jabs a finger toward the clearing and declares, "That's my village. That's my village." The moment they show up, spear-toting demon villagers charge in with raw, instant hostility. Meadow, a horned girl, barrels ahead, finally finding Ilya, and relief hits her like a wave. Then her gaze snaps to Joshua, and she realizes, yeah, he's human. Meta brandished her spear and snapped demands that he let Ilya go right now. Ilya lunges in at once, barking that Joshua is the one who saved her. Meta can't even process it. She's completely stunned that a human would dare do something like that. Ilya's patience snaps. She's furious, wondering why her friend won't hear a word she's saying. The other armed demons keep watch, their faces set in hard grimness. Joshua carefully lowers Ilya to the ground and tells him straight up he won't fight. Ilya yanks his arm tight, begging him to stay, until she can finally repay his kindness. Tears spilled down her face as she blamed herself for not being strong enough. Joshua stares at the heartbroken Ilya, whispering her name again and again with raw, worried concern. Their heartfelt talk snaps to a stop when a villager screams that trouble is here. A man bursts in shouting that a kid got gored by an armored boar. Another demon seethes in rage after he literally warned everyone not to pick a fight with creatures like these. Joshua lays eyes on the monstrous boar, something so powerful it dwarfs the strength of 10 human hunters. Ilya yanks on Joshua's sleeve and snaps his attention away from the chaos all around them. She tells him to stay in the village, secretly planning to return the favor by helping him out. She explains she's got simple recovery magic up her sleeve and she thinks she can actually help. The crew sprints toward a tiny pocket of houses as a loud crowd gathers there. They rush in and find terrified villagers gathered around a man who's been brutally beaten and left near death. The man blurts out an apology to Ilya and admits he wasn't trying to cause trouble. He only wanted meat to feed his kids. Joshua watches the whole scene, eyes heavy with thought, and his face shows he genuinely feels for everyone involved. He knows that behind the man's reckless choices is one thing: pure, desperate love from a father. Ilya drops to a knee beside him, urging him to stay calm as she readies herself to step in and help. She tells Joshua that this person saved her, and Joshua snaps into action, determined to stop the bleeding. Joshua tries a simple healing spell, but it falls flat and can't make things better. So, it's just Exeter. The healer sees the bleeding won't quit, then snaps into action and readies the cautery to seal that wound. Joshua steps in and tells his slime buddy, Wiz, help me out, begging for its support. A tiny chunk of slime snaps loose and lands softly in his palm. He declares he'll use it right, then turns it into a potion he's carefully crafted for the right moment. In his open palm, the slime melts instantly, turning into a thick, sticky, writhing ooze. Joshua grabbed the injured demon's attention, barking for him to brace himself, because that potion he was applying was going to sting like fire. His eyes bulge with shock, and he blurts out, "It doesn't hurt at all." A bystander blurts in pure shock as the man's brutal, gushing bleeding suddenly stops dead. Joshua's mind clicks into place. His slime jelly potion isn't just a cure, it's a bandage and medicine rolled into one. Ilya gasps in shock, staring at a wound that should have been fatal, now healed so perfectly it feels unreal. A horned girl stands there, eyes wide with disbelief, and declares that the miraculous healing can only be the work of the gods. The healed man shoots upright, grabs his side, and gasps in disbelief. Somehow he's still alive. Overjoyed, his whole family crowds around him, spilling heartfelt thanks for saving his life. Ilya bursts with overwhelming gratitude, staring at Joshua like, "How am I ever going to repay you for what you've done?" He tells her to stop fretting about repayment and instead lock in on resting, because her own wounds need healing first. Ilya tries to rise, but her legs buckle from sheer exhaustion. Then a horned girl barrels in and catches her before she falls. The horned girl leans in and begs a breathless Ilya to stop for now. She's still too weak to push any farther. Joshua steps up, takes command, and vows that the healed man will stay right where he is. The group strides off, and Ilya, kept upright by her friends, heads back with them. Meta, the horned girl, locks onto Joshua with a suspicious, hostile glare that says trouble is coming. She sucks in a deep, steady breath and turns back to face him like she's done waiting. Meta slams her hands down, bows low with fierce formality, and introduces herself while thanking him like it's the most important moment of the day. Joshua waves off her gratitude and makes a move to escape, until Meta stops him cold on Ms. Ilya's orders. He reminds himself that the chief's orders are law, and he can't believe Ilya is the one calling the shots. Meta admits it's wild, her people hate and fear humans, but Joshua feels totally different. Her face softens when she realizes he doesn't fit in with the rest. Joshua stands his ground, waiting in silence, while Meta leans in, ready to hit him with something else. She clenches her fist tight, and pure desperate resolve flashes in her eyes. She lunges forward and clamps onto Joshua's hands, begging him, right there, for help. Meta practically pleads on her knees, begging him to teach her his magic. She'll take any kind at all. She lays bare their nightmare, how monsters and humans alike spit them out, even though he's the one who keeps saving everyone. Meta drops a bombshell. Monsters crave their horns, so it looks like they're hunted just to get them. In desperation, she throws herself at him, full body, no hesitation, but he snaps, tells her to stop, and shuts it down fast. With shaking breath, she steadies herself and admits the truth. She never had the education to teach magic on her own. Meta drops the bombshell that, yep, she actually can make tools. Joshua's face ignites the moment he realizes it. Turning tools into reality is exactly what a production mage does. With a confident grin, he shoots back a counter-proposal, then promises he'll craft the tools her village needs. His face lit up with a radiant smile full of hope, and he asked, straight out, if he was serious. Joshua crouches over a messy pile of crude spears, studying them like clues and confirming they're the village's weapons right now. He nods and confirms it's solid, pointing out the branch grips and the stone or boneheads like, yep, this is the whole build. He pauses, thoughtfully considering their tactical and material limitations. He grills Meta about what they can really reach, and she admits it bluntly, almost nobody can master both. Joshua sets out to forge weapons anyone can grab and use with zero trouble. He pitches this wild new idea, crossbows, and Meta's face just freezes, totally lost at the strange word. He snaps his plans into place, says he'll make one first, and starts channeling his crafting magic. A fully formed crossbow materializes in his hands out of nowhere, and Meadow freezes in shock at the sudden burst. Yeah, with a calm smile, he spills the secrets of its creation and urges her to grab the brand new weapon. Meta stares at the strange object, eyes narrowing as it looks like someone mashed a bow and an axe together. Joshua orders his slime buddy, Wiz, to plant branches outside for some target practice. From across the distance, he blurted that he was going to nail the target, shocking his companion on the spot. Meadow squints with doubt, convinced he's got zero chance of landing a hit from that far out. He fires, and that bolt slams into the target with a thunderous boom, smashing the scene with raw, brutal impact. Meta blurts in stunned disbelief at how spot-on he is, then grins and cheerfully dares her to try it. With a steely nod, Meta agrees to drill the move first before they head out hunting, just to see if it really works. A pack of tiny horned kids huddle around her as she trains, their faces lighting up with pure awe. Meta's shot lands perfectly. Boom! It blasts a branch clean in two like the target just vanished. She lights up over her sharper aim, grinning and praising the crossbow as an incredible weapon, and Joshua can't help but heap compliments on her too. Proudly puffing out her chest, Meta drops the bombshell. She's got the Ashura crest, and with it her master can wield any weapon. Joshua stared at the crests, chewing on the thought that demi-human designs could be wildly different from the human ones. Meta clenched her fist and practically shouted that her crest was the one sure way to become all-powerful. Joshua nails it. This crest screams combat, with her power making him feel safe. He grabs the idea and urges them to use it and go hunting. Another girl pipes up, saying they should go after wild boars, smaller versions of the armored beasts. Joshua gives the green light, and Meta eagerly jumps at the plan, nodding like he's ready to strike. He spots the crossbow's deadly reach, but right away he's like, "Cool, now we need a plan for when things get up close and personal." He leans in and grills Meta about her best weapon, and she admits she's most often swinging clubs into the fight. Inspired by her, Joshua decides to forge a weapon that fits her style perfectly. He forges a brutal flail and Meta instantly grins, like it was made for her hands. All confidence blazing, she declares this weapon leaves her with nothing to fear. With their shiny new gear in hand, the two of them charge straight into the wild to hunt down whatever waited out there. Meta soon locks onto their target, jabbing a finger at one lonely boar way off in the distance. They watch the boar for a long moment, alone, lost in its meal, completely oblivious to everything around it. Joshua spots its head as the easiest target and fires off a question to Meta. Can she nail it with a shot? She whips the flail with deadly skill, and that spiked ball rockets through the air at breakneck speed. The weapon crashes into the boar's head with a brutal, sickening thud that ends the fight. Meta can't believe it. She stares at her own triumph and blurts, "I actually did it." She trembles with pure adrenaline, stunned at how effortlessly she crushed that terrifying beast. Joshua grins, thrilled that their brand new weapon works and that she pulled it off with pure skill. He cheers her for her amazing work and urges them to chase a whole new one next. They tower over their first kill, and the moment hits, this partnership just proved it can work. Meta drops 3 boars with a triumphant yell, but Joshua shoots her a quick shuts and shuts the excitement down. She blurts out a fast apology, realizing she'd been way too loud and screwed up. Drawn by the roaring clamor, a hulking armored boar charges out of the trees. Meta panics, blaming herself for luring that deadly creature with the scent of blood. She orders Joshua to sprint off, but when she steps in as the decoy, he grabs her and stops her from doing it. He leans in and asks if she really thinks she can take it down, then tells her these monsters are tamed by the Demon King's army. He remembers duking it out with his childhood buddy, Lube, back when he was still just a kid. He snaps into a swift plan and vows to shut down the simple creature's movement. As soon as he spots an opening, he orders Meta to swing her flail straight at its head. Joshua digs in and refuses to back down, hell-bent on proving he's not going to be any weaker than he was as a kid. As the board charges in, he braces like a fighter, shoving the fear down, refusing to accept that he's gotten weaker. Meta screams a desperate warning for him to brace himself. Just as the beast closes the distance, he gently reassures her, then wastes no time. He braces himself and begins to cast Absorb Magic. Joshua sharply dodges the boar's rampage, then slams his magic into it, absorbing every ounce of its momentum. Then, right on the spot, he snaps into action, shaping crystalline rocks right in his own hand. He roars and slams the rocks straight into the boar's armored head, pulverizing the projectile on impact. He screams that he's got it fooled with sand-filled rocks, then yells at Meta to strike right now. Meta clocks the order, locks eyes with a determined Roger, then rockets forward and dashes off. Joshua's face lights up with a relieved grin as their plan clicks into place perfectly. Meta's silhouette blasts through the sky, her weapon locked in perfect position for the final crushing strike. The colossal armored boar slams down to the earth with one final, bone-jarring thud. Meta panted hard, eyes locked on the fallen beast, still in shock that they actually managed to bring it down. Joshua drops to his knees beside the creature and quietly checks it, confirming one last time that it's dead. He nods and says it feels great that this boar is way simpler than the monsters in the Demon King's army. Meta grips her weapon and demands, "Tell me, can you see the power of the tools I built?" Meta snaps her gaze to Joshua, her face lighting up with a bright, heartfelt smile. She beams and declares that the weapons he forged are nothing short of incredible. Yuraki and Saf to those compliments slam into Joshua like a bruise, dragging up the memory of getting torn apart for his pathetic weapons. He compares that to today and can't shake the thought, when was the last time anyone thanked him for what he's done? Joshua snaps back to reality and, cheeks burning, blurts out that her praise genuinely makes his whole day. His spirit soared, and he vowed he'd crank out even more crossbows for the village. Meta bursts with pure excitement, practically begging for the other tools too. Ilia leans in and says that if they get more weapons, the rest of the clan will be able to hunt. Joshua can't stop thinking about how much he treasures every single reaction his creations pull out of people. Staring out over the forest, he finally gets it. This rush of appreciation is what makes him feel fully, truly happy. Later on, villagers swarm around a mountain of dead boars, staring in awe like they can't believe what just happened. Meta proudly raises a crossbow high in triumph and credits every bit of their success to Joshua. The villagers gasp and chatter in awe, shocked that hunting with a weapon like that is even possible. Flooded with gratitude, Ilya steps up to Joshua, her mind racing with one question: how on earth could she ever repay him? He boldly offers to stay and forge tools. No pay, just food and shelter in return. Medic shoots me a quiet, approving nod as Ilya lays out his shocking proposal. That night, they announce a feast meant to celebrate, and the whole village erupts with joyous shouts. The very next morning rolls in, and pale sunlight spills over the still, quiet village tents. Joshua jolts awake, startled by chirping birds ringing through the morning air. He stretches hard, muttering under his breath about that amazing sleep he just got. His eyes snapped wide open, and there was Ilya, asleep soundly beside him in the very same bed. His face twists into total, jaw-dropping shock at the sudden twist that hits him out of nowhere. His mind races like a drumbeat, replaying the moment she showed him the tent and then vanished. A yam, something wriggled on his other side, and it immediately spilled a whole new surprise. Meta is in the bed with him, clutching tight and sleep-talking like she's challenging the whole world. Totally thrown off, Joshua can't stop wondering how in the world he ended up in this totally bizarre mess. Ilya springs awake with a bright smile and cheerfully tells you good morning. He blurts out, all awkward, "Why are you here?" And Ilya quickly explains, "We're just trying to keep you warm." Meta muttered in her sleep that she wouldn't let him go, right on cue with Ilya's orders. Ilya snaps at her for her bizarre sleep-talking, and then Meta blinks, totally thrown. Meta groggily jolts awake and greets Joshua and Ilya with a loud, blazing good morning. Overwhelmed, Joshua blurts out a rushed thank you for yesterday, then bolts before the moment catches up to him. Meta asks if he's going back to hunting, and he shoots back that, yeah, he's planning to do it again. He decides his first move is crystal clear, crank out even more weapons for the other demons. In the village square, a pack of demons gathered in the open, and their loud chatter filled the air. A colossal, chaotic heap of brand new weapons sprawls right in front of them. The demons can't believe it. So many brand new armaments all at once. Meta snatches up a bow, and memories hit her hard. Her grandfather was a master with a bow. With her insane strength, she snaps the bow in half by accident, right in the middle of it. Panicked, she blurts out non-stop apologies as Joshua scrambles to calm her down. That incident hits Joshua like a truck. Maybe normal, bows just can't cut it against demons with real power. He spots Ilya standing there with an effortless, perfect archer's stance. As he closes in on her, he blurts out, "Tell me, do you know how to use a bow?" She blushes and denies it. Then he grins and makes her an arrow to prove it. Ilya studies the arrow in intense focus, then snaps it onto the string with a sharp ready-for-action knock. She loses the arrow, and it rockets across the clearing like a bolt of lightning. Bolt call of lightning. Joshua's jaw drops at the sheer reach of that shot. He can't wrap his head around the fact that it's her very first time. He tells her she might have been born for archery, and her face lights up with pure joy. He immediately whips up a quiver of arrows so she can start practicing right away. Ilya snatches the gift with gratitude, her eyes blazing, like she's dead set on making it count. Joshua snaps his attention to Meta and tells her she needs armor, like right now, right? He tells her to freeze, then starts channeling a wind spell. A roaring vortex of air spirals around Meta as he clocks every measurement. He follows it up by casting a craft spell, forging a suit of weak, pathetic armor. Meta's armor bursts into existence and snaps onto his body with flawless precision. She slams it, grinning as she says those boar horns won't stand a chance of piercing it. With fresh gear on their backs, the hunting party bursts out into the wild, swearing they'll be back in no time. Once they vanish, Joshua whips around to Ilya with a fresh, dangerous request. He stops and asks if there are any sturdy trees around, and her face instantly scrunches with confusion. A thoughtful look blooms across her face as she considers his question. They plunge into a forest of colossal iron teaks, and Ilya swears these trees are nearly impossible to break. Joshua admits that cutting them all down is going to eat up every last bit of time. Ilya tells him to look for something else, but he's dead set on it. Right before he even gets a chance, Ilya snatches an axe for herself and charges ahead, ready to test it out. Joshua watches her, convinced it'll take forever just to scratch the surface. With a vicious swing, she slams the axe down, and the massive trunk splinters open with a brutal crack. The whole tree topples with a thunderous crash right as she proudly declares her victory to a stunned Joshua. The other demons erupted in cheers, stunned as she chopped the tree down cleanly with a simple axe. Ilya credits every amazing thing Joshua did for her. He clocks Ilya's power. It's 10 times stronger than every other demon in the room. They're staring down a massive, ever-growing pile of logs that towers like an impressive hall. When the transport question hits, Joshua jumps in and reassures everyone. He says he can stash them all. A single command to absorb, then the whole pile of logs gets swallowed up and disappears into nothing. Ilia's power leaves him speechless for a second, then he snaps the compliment right back before anyone can notice. She asks what he's cooking up next, and he grins, telling her he's set on building a rock-solid, secure fence. Ilia's cheeks go red as she admits she has no clue what fences are. Joshua tells everyone that armored boars slip into the village under the cover of night. He says they've got to build a fence to shield themselves from those outside enemies. Ilia buys into his plan and pushes for a comeback straight back to the village. Then he demanded she lead him to a high, open spot right near the center. Often and the center, she spots the perfect way forward and drags him back toward the village like she's been there 1,000 times. They reach a raised, empty plaza, and she shoots a quick nod. This is the exact spot. Joshua stares into the empty stretch of land and demands to know, was anything ever built here at all? With a faraway stare, Ilia calmly tells me that nothing was ever built there. She tells them, we used to throw those festivals right here in this exact spot. Joshua takes that as his green light and gears up to start crafting something right now. In the blink of an eye, a colossal wooden tower bursts onto the hill like it spawned out of nowhere. Down below, the villagers gasp and stare upward, pointing at the sudden structure that just burst into existence. Ilia stands there with his mouth hanging open, totally stunned by how massive that tower is. Joshua shrugs like, stuff this simple? That's nothing for me. Up on the highest point, Ilia just stares in awe, completely blown away by the mind-boggling view of the whole village spread beneath her. Joshua spots Meta and the others down there, hunting like he just cracked the whole scene wide open. He clocks that the hunt is running like a dream, smooth, clean, and right on track. He breaks it down. Why spotting approaching monsters early is the ultimate strategic weapon. He's setting someone up to keep watch. So the moment danger hits, the village gets the warning. Then he lays out a bold plan. Build matching towers on all 4 sides. With his next move, he throws up a log fence around the village and drives it in with stone reinforcements. With his next, bring wide, Ilia grins and swears they'll build a magnificent wall together. The wild size of his plans hits his companions so hard they're left staring, completely, hilariously overwhelmed. Massive wooden logs slam into place right away, kickstarting the construction and rising into a solid wall. With a thunderous BME, a huge wooden log crashes into place, and just like that, the crew starts building a brand new wall. With a split second to breathe, a towering wooden fence erupts out of nowhere, trapping the entire village in a full circle with one crushing final thud. Joshua booms out that the job is finally done, and behind him, Ilia and another demon freeze in stunned terror. Hit by the sheer weight of his power, Ilia blurts out, "Are you a god?" and admits, eyes down, that there's no way she could have pulled it off by herself. Joshua steps up to the cheering villagers and declares, "You've got all the meat you need now, so rest easy tonight." Juicy slices of fresh meat crackled and sizzled over a huge fire pit, stealing the show at the happiest feast of all. The whole village erupts in cheers, drowning the air in loud gratitude as they thank Mr. Joshua for their insane boar hunt victory. Meta's face lights up with pure joy as she stares at the new sturdy fence, and it honestly feels like a dream come true. Ilia flashes a calm, satisfied smile, her face radiating that same dreamlike sense of safety. Joshua suddenly tells the group, "I've got to step away from this celebration for a bit." Meta grins and tells Ilia it's her turn to look after him, and Ilia gladly swallows the responsibility with a happy yes. From far away, Joshua watches Ilia stride off, and the moment she's gone, a burning question sparks in his mind. Meta savors the taste and blurts out compliments, then asks if his parents are the ones who taught him to cook like this. He nods and says his mother loaded him with lessons. Then Meadow grins and praises the grilled meat as if it's absolute perfection. Joshua humbly credits his parents and Ilia's predecessor for making it possible for him to be right there with them. Meta's smile fades to stone as she admits, the last chief was a true hero who stood his ground against the orcs. She snaps into a painful memory from a decade ago, back when the orcs swept in and claimed their territory like they owned it. Joshua's jaw drops. He admits he never knew the demons were getting hit by the humans' war too. Meta, lost in her memories, suddenly recalls how she'd naively invited Ilia and the other kids to run wild and play across the southern plains. Fear flashes across her younger self's face as she remembers the horrifying things that happened there. Her memories slam her with a nightmare. huge orc silhouettes creeping in before the poor kids even realize they're in danger. Meta snaps that the orcs saw the horns of her people as priceless loot, something they'd snatch without hesitation. Even though their chief hammered out a truce, she reveals the treacherous orcs turned around and broke their word. Orcs fixed their eyes on Ilya's insanely long horn and tried to rip it from her by force. Brave little Ilya steps forward and shouts for the other kids to sprint back to the village, anything to keep them safe. A vicious, razor-sharp shriek slices through the air, and you know the brutal orc attack is about to start. Another demon kid shoots forward and bravely punches the orc clamped on Meta, trying with all his might to save his friend. The fearless kid gets viciously slammed to the ground by an enraged orc big enough to crush them without breaking a sweat. Towering over the fallen kid, the orc snarls, calls him a brat, and winds up to smash him again. A vicious blow slams into the tiny demon, showing just how brutally unstoppable the orcs truly are. A young Ilya, breathless and furious, glares at the attackers and snaps that they've crossed the line with their cruelty. An orc snatches Ilya by the horn and declares her finished. Then Ilya yelps in sharp, crushing pain. With a sickening crack, the orc smashes Ilya's horn, while another child freezes in pure, terrified horror. A young Meta shouts Ilya's name, her face twisted into a mask of pure terror as the violence rages beside her. In the middle of the chaos, an adult demon gets slammed through the chest by an orc's brutal, heavy spear. Meta's parents bravely threw themselves between the kids and the charging orcs, ready to fight and protect them. Her mother sobs and begs young Meta to bolt with Ilya, right while they're desperately holding the line. Meta chokes up and ends her story. When she dared to look back, all she could find were her parents' severed heads. Joshua leans in and tells her straight up, it was the orcs' fault. She didn't do a thing wrong for inviting them to play. Meta clenched her fist, stunned by how the late chief had said the exact same words to her. Then the chief stormed straight into the orcs alone, staggered back half dead, yet clutched Ilya's recovered horn in his grasp. She spills the truth. The chief's dying breath wasn't a goodbye at all. It was a command. Ilya must protect every soul in the village. Meta grins and points straight at the village's heart, saying that's where the chief's grave is buried. She gasps at the watchtower, then freezes, because she suddenly realizes someone's actually built something on top of it. Rage shakes her as she fires back at Joshua, demanding to know if he really thinks he didn't go too far when he desecrated that sacred site. Joshua admits he only built it because Ilya said it would thrill the gods, especially with the late chief in the picture. Then he snaps, so what's Ilya up to? And Meta says she's probably out there training with her brand new bow. Seeing Ilya draw her bow, you can practically watch her courage ignite, like she's finally sure she can protect everyone. Joshua insists he meant every word when he told her she has talent, and he even speculates she's carrying a weapon crest. He presses her about her crest, and Meta drops the name Hanya, and he admits he's never heard it before. Meta clears it up. Hanya isn't a combat crest at all. It's a gentle one, and it heals. Joshua weighs it all, and Meta nods, saying Ilya really is kind down to the bone. She tells me Ilya is pure kindness, so she keeps forcing herself past her limits just to look out for everyone else. He remembers her playing the decoy for that kid, and it hits him, just how far her self-sacrifice truly went. Meta says Ilya's actions are truly noble, exactly what you'd expect from their chief. A steely determination sharpens Joshua's gaze as he snaps that he won't let her put herself in danger again. He promises to give it everything to help her, and that vow hits like pure, steady comfort. Steady comfort. Meta snaps the villagers' focus right in the middle of their feast, then gets ready to drop an absolutely massive announcement. With a loud BME, she slams her decision down and declares she'll marry Joshua. Then he chokes on his food, eyes wide with pure shock. As the crowd explodes with cheers, Joshua stands there stunned, stammering in disbelief, firing off questions like, "What are you talking about?" He panics hard, believing someone's setting a trap to lock him in this village for good by tying him down with the whole family. A chilling presence creeps up behind him as he shudders, terrified at the idea of getting dragged into marriage. Ilya bursts in out of nowhere, shaking with raw fury, and tears into Meta for taking her declaration way too far. Meta throws her arms around wildly, insisting this is the only way to make sure Joshua never slips out of their grasp. She fires a challenge at Ilya, asking if he really doesn't want Joshua to stay in the village forever too. Ilya shatters the silence, slams his palm on the table and forces her hand, because now she's the one who will marry him. Two women explode into an argument over who gets to be Joshua's wife, but Joshua shuts them down hard, insisting he won't marry either of them. He lets it slip that he only planned to stick around for a bit, sweating bullets as the chaos swelled all around him. Joshua gets slammed with their loud, spiraling bickering, and you can practically see the stress hitting him. He looks completely frazzled. Drenched in sweat, he slips away from the chaos in stealth mode, praying no one notices him vanish. He finally slips out of the argument, wipes the stress off his shoulders, and decides he's done with the chaos, straight to bed. The next morning, Joshua jolts awake with his head still fuzzy, while birds outside his window start chirping like they're pulling him out of sleep. In pure shock, he looks down and sees Ilya and Meta both knocked out on either side of him, clawing onto him tight like they're holding on for dear life. Later that day, Ilya's voice cuts across the fortified village grounds, shouting for Joshua from clear across the yard. With a bright smile, she skips up to him and asks what he's got planned today, right as he's caught mid-task. Joshua carefully admits that even with his efforts, a brutal mountain of problems still crushes down on the village that has to fix everything. He swings his gaze to Ilya and Meta and demands iron, because without it, he can't forge the crucial tools everyone needs. With steel in his voice, he declares that their mission for the day is to hunt down reddish-brown metallic rocks. Ilya confirms she's spotted little stones like that before, but she has no idea where any big deposits are hiding nearby. She remembers a place called the Aster Cave, tucked right at the foot of a mountain to the southwest. She tells him this place now reeks of bats, and for over 100 years, nobody has been brave enough to step within its reach. Ilya lights up and eagerly offers to take him there herself, practically buzzing at the thought of what kind of adventure could be waiting. Meta snaps in fast, refusing to back down, and declares that it's her job to guide him. Joshua realizes Metis isn't trying to help them at all. She's guarding their chief, Ilya, and keeping him away from anything that could turn dangerous. He flicks his eyes between them both, then steels himself to make the call that will keep Ilya safe. Joshua figures the whole village would panic if anything ever happened to their chief. Ilya hesitates, but he finally gives in, and the grateful Meta bursts with joy, thanking her again and again for trusting her. Joshua swears they'll do a quick scan of the cave, then bolt right back immediately. With a warm, trusting grin, Ilya urges both of them to stay sharp and watch their step on the road ahead. They crash up to the mouth of Aster Cave, an ugly, pitch-dark maw chewing at the rock like it's hungry for trouble. Right in front of that terrifying cave entrance, Meta swallowed hard as the darkness crept in, shaking her nerves. Joshua gears up to sprint in and wipe out the bats first, but Meta suddenly shouts, stopping him in his tracks. He warns that bat bites can be deadly, then locks in his plan. He's going to scout the cave first. With a snap of his craft ability, he conjures a torch out of thin air and thrusts it into the hands of a stunned Meta. He nods and says to light a torch, then hurl it inside, because whatever's lurking in the dark has to show itself. Meadow nods and says the light and heat will totally blind any bats hiding in there and scorch them out for good. With a thunderous heave, she whips the blazing torch into the cavern's suffocating dark. A weird splashing echoes through the air, and Joshua instantly yells, "Hide in the bushes now!" "Hide in the bushes now!" Huddled in the shadows, they hear splashes, scraping steps, and rustling getting louder, closing in fast. Peering through the leaves, Joshua spots a huge creature crawling into view, and the shock of it hits like a meta-gasp of terror right beside him. Meta's face shines with sweat as terror strangles her voice, and she stammers through it. A massive, grotesque slime gushes out of the cave, and she shrieks, demanding to know what in the world it is. Joshua snaps to attention and realizes it's a dust slime, one of those nasty mutant creatures that can't be taken lightly. He reveals its terrifying power. This thing can swallow and dissolve anything, even metal and rock. Joshua pushes for a tactical retreat to grab reinforcements, but Meta slams him down with a brutal, unshakable no. Ayam, thinking her caution is nothing, Meta flashes a confident grin and declares she'll take the monster on by herself. She bolts forward, totally brushing off Joshua's terrified warning that their weapon won't stand a chance. With a defiant scream, Meta drives her spear straight into the slime's gooey body. Her weapon bites into the creature with a sickening squelch, but it doesn't seem to do a thing. Joshua panics and screams at Meta, "Let go of that spear now." She refuses to leave behind the precious weapon he forged just for her. The dust slime bursts forward at terrifying speed, snapping at the reckless warrior like it's going to swallow him whole. Reacting on the spot, Joshua snaps his hand up and conjures a shimmering magical shield to block the attack dead in its tracks. The slime thunderclaps into the barrier, and the hit slams a stunned Meta backward through the air. As Joshua lunges after her, he's already firing up another crafting spell. He slams into Meta and grabs her before she can stumble, asking if she's okay while she blurts out an apology for recklessly putting herself in danger. Joshua whips his head back and realizes the dust slime goes for anything that's still moving. He darts his eyes around, weighing the idea of setting Meta down so he can take the creature on himself. A sudden, unexpected presence hits him like a lightning strike, and he gasps, stunned, terrified, and completely lost. Alia suddenly shows up, standing dead calm between them and right beside that monstrous slime. That terrifying dust slime hangs over Ilya like a nightmare, its shape looming, menacing, impossibly huge, and ready to crush everything in its path. You can't say by what she's seeing. Alia clamps down on a huge axe, her face locked in deadly focus. With one savage slash, she obliterates the monster for good, blasting its remains everywhere. Joshua's shutters were blown wide open. He couldn't believe she just instantly crushed the terrifying dust slime. He can't believe her insane power. She's crushing through everything with that plain axe he welded up just yesterday. More villagers spill in, breathless from the chase, staring in disbelief at Ilya's insane speed. Joshua starts to apologize to Ilya, but she stays cool and tells him, "Don't worry." She swivels toward Meta and quietly admits she was just trying to shield her. Ilya declares, eyes blazing, that her whole life is built for one mission, protecting everyone. Meta tightens her fist, clearly shaken by her chief's deep, heartfelt words. She swears, with shaking conviction, that she'll become strong enough to guard Ilya and everyone she holds dear. As Joshua watches their bond click into place, he smirks and tells them straight up he's counting on their strength. He realizes that the love they share hits so hard that it turns into non-stop worry for each other. With that warm, fond smile, he can't help thinking, these two troublemakers are going to be a handful for real. Ilya lifts a finger and braces to tear into the Humboldt Meta with a no-nonsense lecture. She snaps at Meta for blowing off Joshua's words and for endangering his life. Meta Droop sincerely apologized to Joshua for how badly she misjudged the slime. Joshua tells the staggering Meta to stop and rest her busted hip for the rest of the day. Meta begrudgingly gives in, and Joshua steps in with a final word. This is settled for good. He decides to hunt down the leftover dust slime scraps to use them as crafting materials. Joshua breaks it down. The slime's jelly is crazy tough against shocks, and you can shape it into armor. While he tore through the wreckage, his finger snagged something huge, an insanely large crystal object, gleaming like a buried treasure. He spots it instantly. A magic stone, the kind monsters hoard inside their own bodies. Ilya breaks it down. Tools and weapons forged with these stones don't just work. They unleash insane special powers. Joshua clocks the pale green tint. Turns out that hue boosts his wind attribute magic. Now that the danger's finally vanished, the crew steps up to the cave entrance. This time, it's safe. Joshua figures the dust slime squatted there first, so nothing else dares to stick around inside. They lean in, and whoa, the cave is packed with harmless, run-of-the-mill slimes just crawling around like they own the place. He bets that one of those plain slimes somehow snapped into a dust slime. Giant slime skips forward, all curious, and Joshua immediately calls out to it. The slime darts off, hopping toward the shadows like it's guiding them deeper into the dark cave. Then it starts bouncing with the other slimes, all of them spilling out a weird little burst of joy, like they've got nowhere else to be. Joshua grabs the slime's kindness and tells the others, "It's been helping us this whole time." Sure, the Aster Cave is finally safe. The party charges deeper into the crushing dark ahead. Purple light starts crawling across the cave walls, and Ilya leans in to tell me it's exactly what the cave is named for. Joshua can't ignore the weird phenomenon anymore, so he channels his magic and forges a deadly ice axe. He slams into the shimmering barrier, and the strange rock chips off in a shower. He studies the fragment, and the moment it clicks, his eyes flare wide because it's violet iron. With wild excitement, he blurts out to his baffled friends that it's 3 times tougher than regular iron. Joshua lays it out for them, how rare this is and how nobles hunt it hard because it shrugs off magic like a shield. He cuts the long talk and basically says, this is the perfect metal handed out for crafting superior weapons and armor. He hooks everyone up with pickaxes and drives the whole crew to start digging for that precious ore. The whole crew dives in and starts hammering away, carving the valuable cave walls piece by piece. A horned villager hurries back with a brimming sack of ore, and, behind him, slimes trot along too, hauling even more treasure. Joshua leans in with a warm smile at flustered Ilya, clutching a tiny folded paper in his hands. The whole crew bursts into the village like, we're back, and they've got the wild success of their expedition to prove it. A towering mound of shimmering violet iron gets dumped onto the ground, and the crowd explodes into cheers. Joshua's grinning ear to ear at the hall, because now they won't have to scramble when supplies start to run low. The villagers buzzed with excitement, plotting new tools and pickaxes, and even bragging about cooking pots they couldn't wait to make. A villager leans in and asks if Joshua can make weapons too, and Joshua shoots back a confident yes. Thought flashes across Joshua's face as he starts weighing all the wild new possibilities. In the group chat, everyone's laughing and talking over each other, and you can practically feel the bond as they start plotting what's coming next. Ilya strides up to Joshua, who's kneeling there, deep in thought beside the jaw-dropping mountain of ore. He whips around with a glowing grin and shouts her name, just as she calls his. He tells her she's got perfect timing, because he was literally cooking up something special just for her. He hands her a long sword still wrapped in its sheath, and she shoots back, "Is that one meant for me?" With a sharp pull, she uncovers the brilliant, curved blade of a magnificent katana. Joshua tells them he dug through old village records, hunted down demon weapon details, and used those scraps of history to spark his inspiration. A flashback hits. He's locked in, studying hard, while it clicks in his head that she could use it the same way her ancestors once did. Ilya spots the weapon in the drawings, and knows exactly what it is, yet he's stunned that he built it for her. After the dust slime fiasco, he brings it all crashing back, her vow to protect everyone no matter what. Tears spill into Ilya's eyes as she's overwhelmed, thanking him with a shaky voice and promising she'll cherish it forever. Joshua grins at her, warmly urging, "Just tell me if you need anything else." Meta flinches right nearby, glares at the intimate moment like it's stealing something precious from him. Meta blares her demand for a katana of her own, fired up by the shockingly powerful weapon Ilya just unleashed. Ilya can't believe it. How in the world are they supposed to repay Joshua for all that outrageous kindness? He waves off her gratitude with a humble grin, telling her they already feed and shelter him. His smile vanished, and a grim vow burned in his eyes. He was going to make their village safer and far more prosperous. Ilya thanks him again, and he answers her with a fierce nod, like he's locking in her gratitude for good. He says that if he's going to make it happen, he'll have to crush the three biggest problems this village is stuck with. First off, safety comes first, and he's dead set on rebuilding every house with tough iron teak. The second goal is locking down steady food, because hunting and gathering can't be trusted to deliver every day. He decides that planting crops and building an agriculture system is their best shot at surviving on food. Next, he pinpoints the village's final, toughest problem, its filthy sanitation standing as a whole. He lays it out straight: wash regularly to stop sickness from spreading and help people heal faster. His whole plan starts with a rock-solid water supply and a quarry, then builds up to washrooms and baths in the end. He vows to turn their village into something great, no matter what, for the demons who actually value his hard work. From the top of the hill, the newly fortified village stretches out, every wall and every victory screaming the results of his hard work. A sharp, piercing howl suddenly rips through the air from the nearby cliff, like the world just warned him that something new is coming. The whole group jolts at the sudden scream, and their calm moment gets ripped to pieces in an instant. A blood-curdling cry blasts from the distance, and Joshua and Ilya both jump. As soon as Joshua hears it, he whips around and barks an order like his life depends on it. He snaps orders to meta lock the demons on watch and rally the archers. Joshua calls Ilya to join them, and she says yes without a second thought. Their feet thunder over the ground as they sprint straight for the northern watchtower. Meta bursts in and screams at Joshua and Ilya. She's got a report and she needs answers right now. He tells her to gear up for battle, then warns her to hold their fire until he gives a signal. She swears she hears dozens, maybe over 100 people closing in, their footsteps thundering closer. Ilya's eyes narrow in worry as she clocks that the oncoming group is charging at full speed. From where they stand, the whole crew leans in and scans the forest line ahead. Ilya snaps into a breath, her eyes flaring wide as the figures come into sharp view. She darts her finger forward, yelling to Joshua that she can finally see them now. Wolf-like shadows spill out of the rustling trees below. Meta gulped hard, eyes locked on the crowd closing in. A huge pack of worn-out beast folk trudges ahead, and some of them are even in full wolf form. Joshua was stunned. Then he spotted it. The exhausted refugees were werewolves. He remembers it. Werewolves are half-human, half-wolf creatures, and even other humans hate them. Spying their injuries, Joshua snaps to Ilya and demands to know what in the world could have happened to them. Ilya clenched her fist tight, her gut telling her the slave hunters were behind the attack. A tiny, lone white wolf stumbles out of the refugees group, wandering forward on sheer instinct. Ilia blurts out in a panic, demanding Meta order the archers to keep their arrows nocked and hold their fire. That little wolf shoots a wide-eyed stare up at you, like it's desperate to talk and doesn't know how. Ilia spots a wolf that looks way too familiar and points it out to a shocked Joshua. He's dead sure it's the wolf he risked his life to save from those slave hunters. The lead werewolf finally speaks up, begging for safe passage with nothing but that. No tricks, no demands, just survival. Ilia and Joshua fire back, telling them flat out they've got zero plans to throw hands with them. The werewolf snarls a chilling warning. Those attackers aren't done yet, and you're still in serious danger. A thunderous boom rips through the fortress wall, and the wolf jerks back, startled. Ilia screams at everyone to sprint into the village right now, before danger catches them. Meta barked the order, and the guards snapped to attention, throwing open the north gate. Exhausted, the pack of werewolves staggers into the open entryway, stumbling hard like they can barely keep their legs under them. From the wall, the defenders lock eyes with terror as refugees crash into their sanctuary. Joshua slams down the final command. Every last one of them has to get inside. Right then, an army of armored slave hunters storm in, salivating over their next prey. One soldier just stops dead, totally baffled by the sudden looming fortress. The army goes dead quiet, stunned. How in the world did a fortress just pop up there? Joshua declares. No way, I'm not letting them walk out with our werewolf captives. He leans in and asks Meta if her archers can pick off just the slave hunters. Ilia snaps an order to fire and tells her troops to line up their shots with deadly precision. Arrows start raining from the wall and slam into two of the surprised soldiers. The volley crashes into the enemy lines, shattering their formation as soldier after soldier drops into chaos. A soldier roars that they're humans to the core and that they only want the demi-humans gone. Joshua yells back that they're demi-humans too, then demands the captive be freed right now. For one split heartbeat, he flashes this crazy thought. Technically, he's not even a demi-human. Slave hunters burst into confusion, and then they realize, too late, what terrible mistake they just made. Their furious leader snaps an order to retreat, and he throws the werewolves in front like living shields. Meta's fist clenches with rage as she shouts that the slave hunters are nothing but cowards. Joshua orders Ilia to flank the retreating enemy force and slam the exit shut. Ilia rockets off the wall with pure grit, diving in to intercept them. As she barrels in out of nowhere, the fleeing soldiers scream in alarm at her sudden, lightning-fast arrival. Her eyes lock in, then she closes the distance like she's locked onto her target. Ilia turns into a streak of lightning, cutting a path straight through the enemy ranks. A soldier staggers backward, her whole body reeling from the brutal impact of her crushing attack. A soldier snatches up the cat-eared girl and barks at her, demanding she tell him who hit him. Ilia offers to spare their lives if they just hand over their captives. The soldier thrusts her forward, quizzing her, "Is this really what you want?" As she lunges for the hostage, a voice from nowhere snaps into the air and orders her to stop. A cold soldier jams his blade against the girl's throat and dares her, threatening her life. The girl goes rigid with terror when the soldier threatens to hurt her. Alia's face twists into a cold, soundless storm of absolute fury. She whips out a crushing slash, landing it straight on the soldier gripping the girl. Another soldier spits out a curse as the freed girl stumbles away, frozen in pure shock. Ilia slams through her attack, and her long hair whips wildly with every strike. A voice rips through the air yelling her name, then a command hits, and she freezes mid-attack, stunned into silence. Joshua snaps that chasing them any farther would be way too dangerous. Ilia snaps her head toward him, stunned as the crowd's cheers suddenly roar louder and louder. Freed beast people burst into wild joy, roaring their freedom with triumphant joy, cries. Joshua can't help but stare in awe, nodding along as her incredible victory leaves him speechless. Meta takes command and snaps orders, "Wrap those wounded with bandages, right now." She barks orders to her crew to yank all the recovered human gear together in one place. Joshua drops into a deep, formal bow and pours out his heartfelt, profound thanks. A tiny white wolf bounds in and proudly introduces herself. "I'm Merc, the chief's daughter." Ilia breaks the silence with a warm smile, introducing herself as the chief of this village. Merc stared up at her, stunned that the truth had just hit that hard. Joshua snaps in surprise when Merc bows and speaks her name. Aya crouches down and tells Merc he doesn't need to keep up all this formal stuff. Mark tilts his head toward her, smiles at the friendly offer, and echoes her name right back. Ilya shoots Merc a question. Did your people really come down from the northern mountains? Merc tells how they were living in peace inside a cave until humans finally showed up. Joshua links it straight to the slave hunters they battled. She warns that the fight isn't over, more enemies are out there, and some of them burn with fire. Merc claims they can fire huge blasts of flame straight from their hands. Joshua snaps to attention. Fire mages are right there, and they scramble to slam up stone walls before the blaze hits. Then it hits him. He's met Merc before, somehow, somewhere. Joshua snaps the truth into place. She's the one the slave hunters captured. Metaglayer shot him a furious look and demanded, "So you really led the slave hunters right to us?" Ilya throws down a hard no, stepping in front of Joshua and shutting down the accusation. Merc tells them she just followed Joshua's scent until it led her straight to a village. Joshua finally confessed that he'd been praying Ilya and her people would swoop in and rescue everyone. The werewolves swallowed their pride and admitted they should have begged for help way earlier. Ilya's crew gets hit with a straight-up plea for help, and they can't ignore it. She whips around to Merc and demands they back each other up, no matter what. Meta hesitates, eyes dropping as a reluctant expression creeps across her face. She tilts her head back, eyes on Ilya, and demands to know what she wants from them. Ilya begs them to let them stay, swearing they'll fight right alongside them. She whips Meta with a fierce glare, pushing her to agree, no excuses. Joshua adds that the slave hunters aren't just grabbing humans. They're hunting demons too. Ilya straightens up and takes in the moment, because Meta finally gives in and admits he's right. Meta throws its support behind the alliance, trusting this brutal logic: if they're enemies with your enemy, then they're your allies too. Meta starts hustling, organizing everything, making plans to send the crew home, and prepping the whole place for their brand new guests. Merc, the white wolf, lifts his head, caught up in the fire of everyone's safety and well-being, bleeding and battered. Ilya still smiles at Merc, then urges her to finally rest too. Later that night, the campfire crackles while the whole village sinks into a tense, quiet watch. Merc is curled up on the ground, dead asleep after that brutal, exhausting fight. Joshua keeps a close eye on her, then tells Ilya she's worn out and that she's still just a kid. Ilya urges Joshua to rest, but Joshua won't slow down. He plans to check the captured armor first. A horned demon pops in with a grin, loudly announcing that every last piece of the retrieved equipment is sitting right by the gate. With a brutal thud, a mountain of armor and weapons slams onto the ground. As Joshua scans the pile, a weird clacking sound snaps his attention to it instantly. He spots the armor's unique seal, and instantly knows it belongs to the Cortesia Company. Joshua flashes back to the company's infamous trail of illegal trades and the assassinations that followed it like a shadow. Meta's grin face snaps into view, and he flat out warns that any fire mage from that kind of company is going to be absolutely terrifying. Joshua nods in agreement, and the truth hits. There's no time to waste as they scramble to fortify their defenses against that skilled magic user. He declares he'll stop the slave hunters for good so no more tragedies ever hit again. The next morning, Joshua jolts awake to a warm, gentle feeling. Still half asleep, he blinks awake and realizes his hand has started petting something soft, fluffy, and warm sprawled right on his stomach. He snaps his eyes open and shoots a confused look at the fluffy thing sprawled in his bed. He's stunned to find a girl with animal ears fast asleep on him, dead to the world. The girl jolts awake, blinks hard, and stares around like, "Who are you and how did you get here?" She lets out a gentle yawn, then smiles and tells Joshua good morning, framed by a sea of blooming flowers. A totally flustered Joshua stammers, scrambling to make sense of the chaos around him. He snaps to it. Her voice is Merc X, and with a little help from a pup, she proves it's really her. Merc shyly leans in and confirms she already knows his name. She says Ilya told her. Then she points at the woman still knocked out in the bed. Meta and Ilya start to stir too, and in the middle of a packed, crowded bed, they pop up and greet Joshua. Later, the whole crew gathers in the silent village courtyard, braced and ready to tear into whatever the day throws at them. Joshua clings to the report of the fire mages, and a burning vision of total destruction flashes in his mind. He realizes their log fence won't hold up when the powerful fire attacks start raining down. He steels his resolve to grab fire-resistant construction materials and shouts for Merc right away. He fires off a question to Merc, asking if she knows anywhere nearby with bare rocky ground. Merc can't stop wondering if he's meant to find a rough, wild spot that looks just like her old mountain home. Ilya blurts out a sharp idea. Go to a spot across the river just east. Joshua stares at the massive, deadly river, and his mind races over how they're going to cross it. Meta excitedly asks for a piggyback ride, and nervy hesitation makes him wave it off. He decides to scout the river for monsters first, before they even think about crossing. Mert jumps at the chance to guide them through the scouting mission. Ilia decides to tag along too, calling out that huge boars are on the road ahead. Metajoints also backed it up. More people meant better odds when the ground was unfamiliar. Joshua suddenly snaps with an idea and decides to forge a suit of armor for Ilia. The crew marches along the very top of their towering wooden fortress wall, gripping the heights like it's a fight waiting to break out. Ilia and Meta grin and chat as they stroll, and Joshua stays right on their heels, never letting the distance grow. Joshua leans in and asks Merc for a favor, and she doesn't hesitate a second, instantly agreeing to take it on. He holds up a lump of clay and dares her to hunt down the exact spot where it's buried. Merc strides ahead, swaggering like, "There's gotta be some nearby." She points to the perfect spot, and Joshua conjures a shovel out of thin air before they start digging. He snatches up a massive deposit so fast it completely shocks Ilia. They found it way too easily. Ilia and Merc can't help but stare at that mysterious material, dying to figure out what it's actually for. Joshua breaks down his whole crafting routine, molding the clay with his hands, then firing it and letting it cool. With a magical poof, he pops into existence holding an ornate ceramic mug like it's always been there. He slams that sturdy, intricate mug into the Mer's hands, and the guy's left genuinely impressed. He points out that this clay isn't just for art, it can shape tiles and bricks too. After thanking Ilia, he decides they'll drag the villagers back later to dig up even more clay. Their first job is finished, and he blazes the order. "All right, let's cross the river." The crew huddles at the roaring edge of that wide, rushing river, staring at the current like they're about to make their biggest move. Ilia stares at how massive the river is, and Joshua immediately nods, agreeing with every word. A spark hits him, and with a grin blazing on his face, he announces they're building a bridge. In a blink, a wooden bridge bursts out over the water, and Ilia and Meta are left utterly stunned. Joshua steps forward in control, talking his way through it because this is how they stop themselves from getting swept away. He shoots Merc a curious question: how the heck did she manage to cross that river before him? Merc leans in and tells her there's a tight choke point up ahead, right where she's been hopping over rocks upstream. Meta and Ilia soak up the gentle breeze and let the river's soft rush lull them into pure peace. On the far side, Merc lifts his nose and sniffs the wind, hunting the scent of the mountains to the north. Joshua stands with his back to the river, and the moment he turns his face, seriousness hardens on him. He can't stop worrying about the werewolves' trauma, and he desperately wishes he could mend what they've been through. Meta's voice blares with their danger right now, yanking him back into the present like a slap. He tugs his glove into place and locks back in on the real mission, snatching rocks. He even for as always away and missins, that always oh. The crew pushes into a jagged, mountainous wasteland to kick off their search. They stride across a dead, barren wasteland with stones of every size scattered crunch underfoot. Merc just confirmed it. This is exactly the place they've been hunting for. They push into a vast, desolate quarry where rolling boulders and piles of rubble stretch out as far as the eye can see. Joshua spots the quarry's fingerprints everywhere, fresh cut marks dug into the rocks. He asks Merc if she only saw boars here, and Merc nods, confirming that's exactly what happened. Ilia tells her she usually avoids this place because the monsters here are huge and built to crush. Meta points out that so far all they've spotted are tiny critters, like rabbits. Like rabbits, Joshua grins and readies his magic, ready to blast the rocks open and start mining. He leans into the curious Ilia and tells her he's using a specialized drilling magic. Suddenly, a brutal cracking boom rips through the dead silent quarry. Ilia jerks back hard as the earth starts shaking violently under their feet. The whole area erupts with an earth-shaking blast, slamming Ilia and Meta off balance. They stare at the alarm, then scattered rocks start to slide, gathering and converging like they'd been summoned. Joshua freezes in dawning horror as the rocks start snapping into a horrifying shape. A towering stone giant cranks itself into place in front of them, and he instantly snaps that it's a golem. Shock flashes across his face as that massive golem towers over them. Before he can even react, Ilia snaps into motion and dashes straight ahead to launch an attack on the creature. Joshua screams at her to stop, but her fate is already sealed. His warning comes too late. Ilia gritted her teeth as she launched forward, realizing just how brutally tough that creature was. She slams a brutal slash into its leg, and the golem jolts and stumbles, thrown off balance. Her strike rocks the creature to its core, but she can feel this battle isn't even close to being finished. Even as her strike decapitates the golem, she doesn't blink. Tension stays locked in, eyes still locked on the next move. Her eyes go wide in stunned disbelief as she watches the golem's leg get shattered. The shattered rocks on its leg rip back through the air and snapped into place, rebuilding the limb with pure magic. Ilia stumbles back, breathless with guilt, apologizing for her reckless swing, and straight up admits that cutting won't change a thing. Joshua squints and spots a reddish-black stone blazing like a star right in the middle of the golem's chest. He tells you this is the core. So long as they don't wreck it, the golem will keep right on performing. The golem snaps into retaliation, flinging huge rocks at the little group like it's hunting them down. Joshua roars for everyone to bolt as deadly projectiles slam from the sky. He snaps together a plan in seconds, then barks for Ilya and Meta to smash the exposed core. Two girls lock eyes, pure determination, knowing exactly how vital they are. They snap their heads together, nod in perfect sync, and whip out their weapons, gearing up to unleash the new strategy. Joshua tells Merc to zero in on dodging only, then reassures her to stop stressing and just keep moving. With a fierce shout, Joshua barrels straight at the towering stone golem as it rampages and smashes everything in its path. Ilia erupts in a frantic shout, warning him that charging headfirst is way too deadly. With a cocky grin, he leans in and tells Ilya, "Don't worry, I'm the perfect man for this." The hulking golem hauls its rocky fist back, ready to slam it down and shatter the young man. Undeterred, Joshua dodges a storm of brutal punches, each one crashing into the ground around him. He slaps a hand onto the creature's arm, eyes sharpening as he barks one word, "Absorb." His magic hits instantly, and the golem's arm starts fading away in a string of soft little poofs. The golem jerked back in pure shock, and the weird magic tore through its whole body until it started to dissolve. Joshua finally gets it. His power works because the golem is built from cold, inorganic rock. In a daze, the golem stumbles back as its lower half breaks apart into glittering sparks of light. It frantically scrabbles to rebuild itself, scooping up loose rocks to replace that arm as it starts to disintegrate. A fired-up grin rips across Joshua's face as he realizes he's swallowing those rocks faster than ever. The golem gets absolutely crushed. Every inch of its body starts rapidly fading away as the relentless assault pounds it non-stop. Joshua grabs the moment, shouting at his two companions to strike right now. A horned girl named Meta rockets into the air and shouts that with her metal rod, nothing is unbreakable. She slams her weapon down with a bone-rattling thud, driving it straight into the golem's chest. With her strike landing, Meta blurts for Ilya to slam in immediately with her own follow-up attack. Ilya unleashes a blood-curdling battle cry, pouring every ounce of her overwhelming strength into her sword. She snaps her blade into a thunderous slash, cleaving the exposed golems and cracking their glowing cores wide open. In the golem's core, the reddish-black puppet stone cracks wide with a sharp, unmistakable plink. Joshua jolts with pure shock as he clearly snatches the falling pieces of the shattered core out of midair. Ilya darts to his side, fretting if he's hurt, then breaks into a warm grin and praises their awesome teamwork. He admits, "Yeah, that win was insane, but I'm talking about the core I just snagged." With the shimmering broken crystal in hand, he realizes, this is the golem's core. Joshua leans in and tells you this. Those puppet stones are usually super fragile, and once a golem is taken down, they crumble apart. Meta stares at the stone split cleanly right down the middle, so they know they can still use it. Ilya's eyes flare the moment it clicks, so they really can make two rock puppets of their very own. She panics that Puppet could strike them, but Joshua cuts in fast. Puppet obeys whoever the name on the stone belongs to. He adds that even stones that were owned before can have their commands wiped clean and rewritten from scratch. Ilya can't believe it, but she's thrilled they managed to help, and Joshua praises their amazing effort. Joshua can't wait, so the moment the chance hits, he fires up and crafts a brand new golem to test its price. Ilya's dazed and stammering. He blurts out that he can create even living beings, and it hits him as something truly special. He fires off his new golem's first command, sliced through that huge cube-shaped rock. The earth shakes as the golem stomps forward, and Meta, Ilya, and their little companion all jump in shock. They gape in disbelief as the golem effortlessly hoists a massive, jagged boulder like it weighs nothing. Meta clenched her fist and hissed through her teeth, vowing she would never lose and that she could lift that much too. Golem casually grips the rock in one hand, just waiting for the next order to hit. Defeated, Meta finally admits she couldn't lift it with just one arm either. Joshua leans in, eyes gleaming, and gives his creation a satisfied once, Over then wipes his brow with a quick, nervous sweat. He's finally convinced they've landed a rock-solid new partner for their village, someone they can truly count on. Back at the village, a horn-blowing man barrels through the gates, screaming that disaster has hit. The villagers scream and swarm in panic, shouting as the giant barrels closer, convinced an enemy strike is about to hit. Joshua and Ilya stare as their golem lumbers into view, and each heavy step shakes the ground like a drum. Meta shoots forward with a calming hand, urging everyone to chill out and breathe easy. With pure kid-on-chase excitement blazing in her eyes, she declares that the creature is a golem. She beams and shouts that the giant golem is their new buddy, crafted by Mr. Joshua himself. Ilya whips around to Joshua and demands to know what he plans to do with all the rocks they've hauled in. Pointing at the golem grinding away, he declares his plan to raise a wall around the village. He vows that their top priority is to forge and fortify the vulnerable north gate first. Meta and Ilya stare in wild, comical shock at what pops up next, like they can't believe their eyes. They gawk in pure shock at a massive stone gate, fully built, standing tall like it spawned out of thin air. Ilya gapes, stunned that this is the biggest thing he's ever built, and he admits it without hesitation. Joshua urges them to start by testing how solid this new structure really is. One of the villagers steps up, then starts shaking one of those massive doors with everything he's got. Meadow panics. If his power goes wrong, that whole gate will collapse under the pressure of the string. The man slumps in defeat, wiped out cold, while Ilya casually points out that construction will now move at a terrifying pace. Joshua's face hardens as he snaps that they have to rebuild the walls with stone fast. From up high, the village wall stretches across the horizon, screaming just how huge their ambitious plan really is. The golem grinds on without rest, hauling and stacking brutal stone blocks until a brand new wall rises. Joshua lifts his hand, and his magic starts churning out fresh construction materials non-stop. Every villager, no matter their race, bands together, hauling heavy supplies and locking down the wall as it climbs higher and higher. Meta and the other demons beam with bright, encouraging smiles as they watch the harmonious work unfold. The whole community bursts into action, teaming up at lightning speed with ruthless efficiency. Joshua watches the progress with a calm spark of satisfaction, while his companions slump with exhaustion, but still smile, clearly happy. A gentle please smile breaks across his face as he watches his friends and the villagers toil side by side. He stands on top of the climbing wall, staring down at how their huge mission is taking shape. Joshua crunches the numbers and realizes if they keep this pace, the north wall will be done by tomorrow. His heart races the second he realizes they could turn their home into something limitless, endless ways to make it better flood his mind. Right when his mind starts to drift, Meta suddenly yells his name and snaps his focus back in seconds. She blurts, "Have you seen our buddy Merc? Win the affer to they problem. Op to the dickage. I resets." Meta flicks her eyes around, then drops the truth. She hasn't seen that werewolf girl since that very morning. Joshua remembers how Meta couldn't stand the werewolves at first, and then watched that hatred flip into a real change of heart. He realizes her worries aren't a stop sign, they're proof she's grown to care for them. Joshua finally snaps into action and announces, "I'm going to find her myself." Meta snaps at him to get cooking, betting everything on him to track down their friend. Joshua whips his gaze around the village, kicking off his hunt for their missing companion. He lets out a quick breath of recognition the moment he spots someone he knows. He spots Ilya, and when he says her name, she turns toward him with a soft, gentle smile. He fires off, "Is Merc with you?" And Ilya cuts in, telling him she hasn't seen Merc either. Ilya's face tightens with worry as Joshua starts tossing out the idea that Merc could be out there hunting somewhere. So they decide the smart move is to go straight to the nearby werewolves and pry out every piece of information they can. Joshua steps up to a werewolf with perfect manners and asks straight out if he's seen Merc. The werewolf growls that he spotted her by the southern river, clutching a basket of mushrooms. Joshua declares he's going to find her, but Ilya lunges in and tries to stop him. A massive werewolf strides in, growling that they won't bother Joshua or Ilya anymore. He tells them Merc slipped out to gather mushrooms, all as a thank you present for the demons. Ilya snaps quickly that they don't owe him anything. No thanks, just their kindness. The werewolf drops to his knees and begs them to trust his pack, because they've got his people backing them all the way. Ilya clenched her fist, terrified the werewolves could pay for the search with their lives. The werewolf locks eyes with her, and you can see it. He finally gets how fiercely she's worried about his people's safety. Joshua takes the deal, nodding in agreement. He's handing the search for Merc over to them. As the werewolves vanish into the night, Joshua leans in and confirms it. This is the Southern River. As the sky sinks towards sunset, panic spikes. What if Merc got swept away? He grabs the moment and urges them to hurry. The two of them tear through the woods, racing for the river, desperate to find their friend. Ilia prays Merc is safe, and Joshua backs her up, sure she's fast enough to bolt out of danger before it catches her. Ilia drags her feet for a beat as a thought hits her, and she can't help but wonder about something. Joshua speaks his own question out loud, baffled that Merc would bend over backward just to do it. He whips around to Ilia and shouts her name as he searches inside for her, desperate to settle the matter. She studies him, nods like she gets it, and tells him she knows exactly how Merc feels. Joshua's mind crashes back to his darkest days. After his hometown burned, they branded him a useless kid and left him to rot. A jarring flashback rips open to show a young, filthy Joshua getting shoved out of town while a furious woman drives him away. He can't forget being branded useless, and Ilia just can't wrap her head around how anyone would ever reject him. Another memory flashes. Joshua sits there, locked in, and he breaks down exactly why he trained swordsmanship and magic. Ilia clocks Merc's moves and tells himself the werewolf is chasing the same approval, desperate to be accepted. She blurts out her worry. Merc is terrified they'll be pushed out if she doesn't bring in enough to the table. Joshua nods with a heavy heart, admitting that, yeah, some demons absolutely would pull that kind of move. Then he gestures toward the werewolves grinding away, calling out how hard they're working and how clearly they're trying to help. With fresh resolve blazing in her, Ilia steps up and declares she wants to talk with Merc more so she can reassure her. Joshua flashes a warm smile, nods in agreement, and tells them to rush back so they can talk and chow down together. As they push deeper into the woods, they start shouting Merc's name, frantic, like they'll find her before she vanishes. As they creep closer to the river, they keep shouting for Merc, demanding she answer, right there if she's actually there. Ilia suddenly catches something out of nowhere, snaps his arm up, and yanks Joshua's gaze straight to the river. They spot Merc alone on a big rock, stranded in the middle of the roaring, rushing water. Joshua and Ilia don't even think twice. They spring across the rocks, racing toward the stranded girl. Joshua realizes the water keeps climbing, and it traps Merc, cutting off any chance for her to get back. Merc snaps her head up, stunned as Joshua and Ilia leap across those deadly rocks straight for her. Alarm flashes across her face as confusion hits hard. She demands why they're here just as a deep rumble starts to shake the air. As Joshua shouts her name, the earth starts to tremble underfoot, and Joshua jerks back, stunned. Once the danger finally fades, rage flares across Ilia's face as she snarls that she's going to chew Merc out. She snaps at Merc, furious, demanding he never risks dangerous places alone again. Joshua steps in with a gentle hand on Merc, calmly assuring him the place isn't dangerous. He tells her, "Don't stress them. Everyone here is in the same village, and we're all friends." Humboldt Merc lowers her head and swears she'll be careful, vowing she won't trouble them again. Merc stares down again, her insecurity still clawing at her about where she truly stands with them. Ilia leans in, calming her down, and says the werewolves were a massive help in tracking down the clay. Merc shrugs off her own hard work, and snaps that all she's got is a sharp nose. Ilia goes all in, swearing the werewolves have strengths the demons don't even come close to. She's convinced that if they team up, they can carve out happier lives for everyone, even when the world keeps throwing pressure at them. A werewolf and a horned demi-human lock eyes and nod together. They're convinced their combined power can finally end that oppression. Joshua flashes a proud grin as he watches, thinking, "Yep, Ilia's got the right idea." From behind, Merc nods in quiet agreement with Ilia's assessment. She lifts her face with fresh hope and says, "If we help each other, we can all live better." Joshua shoots his hand out and says he's counting on them, and Merc nods back hard and solid. With their bond locked in tight, Joshua turns to everyone and declares it's finally time to head home for Meta's cooking. Merc proudly unveils a basket packed with mushrooms, claiming they're magical metashrooms. That illustration spells out how metashrooms can turn into both food on your plate and medicine in your hands. Joshua pats Merc's head and praises her for a fantastic job, then her tail starts wagging like crazy with pure joy. They finally roll back into their sprawling, old-school village home just as the day starts to fade. On the stove, a huge pot of stew packed with juicy meat and bright lemons boils and bubbles like it's about to explode. Metastares turned up the comedy switch, pouring every ounce of focus into her cooking like her life depended on it. Joshua and Ilia lean in, inhale the steaming aroma, and immediately gush, "Wow, that smells insanely good." Merc narrows his murky eyes at the pot, eyeing Meta like, "You really think you can cook with ingredients this weird?" Joshua chuckled under his breath, admitting to himself that being meta could trip him up every now and then. That perfectly prepared bowl of soup tells you his worries don't hold a shred of truth. As the whole village crowds in for the meal, Joshua finally exhales. He's sure the food is going to be just fine. Ilia takes a cautious sip of the soup, and the moment it hits her tongue, her eyes flare with pure, happy surprise. Meta practically can't believe it. She blurted out that she really outdid herself this time. Merc, eyes full of doubt, takes one shaky spoonful of the stew. Her eyes snap wide with shock and pure delight as she blurts out that it's unbelievably tasty. Lena Mida smirks like she owns the kitchen, bragging that her cooking is the best there is, and Merc's just stunned, saying it's nothing she's ever tasted before. Meta leans in and dares Merc to taste the mushrooms she hauled in, because they're already simmering in the stew. Merc bursts out in total amazement, gushing over the mushroom's juicy, mouth-watering texture, while Meta can't stop grinning with excitement. Joshua beams with a warm smile as he watches the mushrooms succeed in a big, unmistakable way. Just as the dinner turns calm, Meta hears a sudden noise outside, and her curiosity spikes as she can't stop asking, "What is that?" A horned young man jabs a trembling finger at the rooftop, his face twisted with pure panic. A tiny winged figure drops in with a brutal thud, then snaps that it wants names. Right now. She instantly thinks the intruder came for their meetup, but she shakes the idea off just as fast. The owl-like girl snarls low from her rooftop perch. She dives in and crowds Meta so suddenly that Meta's cheeks burn with a confused, flustered blush. Meta tilts her head and demands to know what the intruder wants as she dives down from above. The owl girl locks into a fierce stare, zeroing in on the fluffy pom-pom dangling from Meta's hair accessory. Just then, Joshua blasts out a warning. Something gets thrown, and it yanks the girl off balance. With a fierce shout, he hurls an object and surges forward, rushing in to break up the weird standoff. The girl drops. Then Wiz the slime lunges in, cushioning her fall with a gentle, squishy catch. Joshua shouts praise at Wiz for the awesome work. Then he and another girl bolt straight to the scene. Ilya spots the intruder collapsed on the ground, and her wings shredded to pieces. Joshua and Merc stare down at the tiny girl, worry crashing in as they try to figure out who she really is. As she slumps unconscious, Joshua's mind races. Could this battered mystery girl be a demi? The whole crew crowds around the fallen girl, but her identity is a total blank. No one has a clue who she really is. The girl is slumped, unconscious in the slime creature's warm embrace. Wiz holding her close. The whole crew crowds around the unconscious girl, and that slime still cradles her like a soft, squishy shield. She starts to wake up with a rough groan, and Joshua quickly hushes her, telling her to stay quiet and not speak. He fires off a quick request to Ilia to set up a bed for the injured girl, and she immediately nods and gets to work. Meta gently leans in and hands the weakened girl a steaming bowl of soup, swearing it'll warm her right up. The girl slurps the soup down in one gulp, then crumples backward, knocked out cold again. Joshua leans in, calm but confident, and tells the worried Meta she's fine, she's only asleep right now. Meta lets out a breath of relief, but that mysterious girl still leaves her totally baffled. The girl dozes peacefully, her tiny body cuddled in the soft slime-like embrace. Meta suddenly clicks, spotting that the girl isn't human at all. She's a Tengu. She tells a shocked Joshua that the Tengu make their home on a tiny mountain to the west. Joshua can't believe it. He's never heard of a demi living this close. Ilia slips back in to say the bed's finally ready, and Joshua shoots her a heartfelt thank you. He decides to patch up her scratches with healing magic before they even move her. Merc stares intensely as Joshua channels the healing spell, every movement locked in his gaze. That teen girl is tucked snug in bed, wrapped up in a warm blanket, fast asleep and safe as can be. Joshua tells his slime buddy, Wiz, to stay on guard and watch over the sleeping girl for a while. Other villagers whisper in panic, stealing nervous glances at the new arrival. Meta clapped her hands with pure cheer, urging everyone to dive right back into their meals. Meta can't stop thinking about how incredible Joshua is. She's convinced he can handle literally anything that comes at him. Merc remembers her mother saying, "It's wild, using more than one kind of magic changes everything." Pike. Joshua humbly swears he's only got basic healing magic. Nothing special, just the kind everybody knows. Meta drops a bombshell. She knows magic too, and she can literally feel it humming inside animals. Joshua gapes and asks if she knows any magic, and Merc grins like she owns the sky. Yeah, she uses wind magic. Ilia watches in pure confusion as Joshua shoots upright, fueled by a fresh idea. Yeah, the Ramnanalegani Tudras, as the conversation rages on, we're shown the towering village wall, standing there like it's holding secrets in its stone. Mert shows off her wind magic, snapping up a tiny gust that swirls between her hands. The gust only manages to slap the water just enough to form tiny ripples across the surface. She straight up admits her power is meant for fun, not for fighting. Merc then drops the bomb. She's got the white wolf crest, and it's perfect for ice and healing. Joshua thinks that Crest could let her wield both ice and healing magic at the same time. Merc tells everyone her mother could only pass down wind magic to her. Still in shock, Joshua blurted out, asking if she wanted him to teach her more spells. He reassures the fired-up Merc that this simple magic stuff won't be hard for her at all. For her very first lesson, Joshua makes her close her eyes and picture water turning to ice in a bucket. Believing a wand could save the day, Merc theatrically tries to forge one right there on the spot. She locks in her power and barks an order freeze, the target she set her sights on. A violent burst of magic erupts from the bucket, and in the blink of an eye, everything inside freezes into ice. She grips the icy bucket and can't stop trembling as her friends shower her with praise for pulling off such an insane win. Joshua fires her up, telling her that every extra training session will sharpen her cooling skills. Merc and Ilya light up with excitement and can't wait to push their magic training even further. Merc pushes her brand new ice magic on them, promising it'll help power up the new facilities they're trying to build. The next morning rolls in, under a calm blue sky, like the world's daring them to start again and crush the day. Inside, the rescued teen girl lies asleep, finally resting easy after everything she went through. Joshua and Merc stride outside, leaving the sleeping girl behind as they vanish into the night. He drops to the ground and starts carving a massive panel, scratching his head as a curious Merc gathers around him. Joshua tells everyone the demons dug him a massive hole, just like he asked. They storm down a stone-lined staircase, and a heavy violet iron door slams shut behind them. With a thunderous shove, he hurls the door wide open and stares into the space beyond. Merc gasps in pure awe, realizing he's carved out a huge, empty underground chamber. Joshua calls it practice and asks her if she can freeze the room's floors and walls. He tells them it'll run as a cold storage vault for meat and fish, shutting spoilage down before it can even start. Joshua straight up admits it. Freezing a space that huge is brutally hard for him. He explains that his own talents are basically all about one thing: forging magic. Merc glares at him, squinting at his so-called specialization as he pushes her to drill and practice. All at once, her ear twitches. She feels a disturbance brewing just outside. Joshua blazes out that he's heading to the walls to work. Then he braces himself and prepares to leave. Merc slams in front of him and blurts that the teen girl is outside, causing a full-on commotion. From far away, they can spot the action tearing open in the village courtyard. The moment Joshua and Merc spot the girl, they break into a sprint straight toward the trouble's source. They watch Ilya and Meta struggle to hold the agitated teen girl down, keeping it gentle as panic blazes in her. Ilya begs the girl to take a break, but she snaps back that she's totally fine. The teen girl shot them a grateful smile, then her words fizzled out as she struggled to explain. Ilya blurts out that with wings like hers, torn to shreds, she'll just end up falling again. With her wings sagging in defeat, Joshua strides up to introduce himself and the rest of them. The whole crew stands by, holding their breath, while the Tenga girl stays stone, quiet with her head bowed low. He straight up asked if some rule stops her from talking with them. You can maul, discaustic, and damn, with a nervous flutter of wings. The girl introduces herself. She's a Saw, a Tengu member. Ilya bursts into a warm smile and introduces herself as the village chief, while Merc leans out from the side, spying in. Joshua turns to Asua, eyes locked on her, and starts pressing for answers about what's really happening with her wings. He calls out the harsh truth: she can't fly with them. Joshua's face tightens with seriousness as he starts cooking up a real solution to her problem. With fierce, heartfelt resolve, he vows to forge a tool that will help her. His sudden, confident declaration drops all three girls into total shock. Every word they had planned just evaporates. Ilya wonders if he can forge wings, but he snaps back and admits he can't. Instead, he blurts out his whole plan, using magic stones to pull off the job. With a sudden poof, he snaps an ornate wand into existence on the spot, proving his power in an instant. Then he leans in and straight up asks Suha if she can pull off any kind of magic. Joshua tells her to picture herself summoning wind, and Merc immediately jumps in, showing her exactly how it's done. With her eyes locked in, Suha breathes a whisper, then mutters the incantation that summons a wind spell. A tiny gust whips around her, and it's like the air itself just confirmed it. She's got real talent. He lifts the freshly forged wand and tells her it'll let her take flight. Merc and Ashiha leaned in, eyes locked on the shimmering wand as its one-of-a-kind greenstone practically glowed. Joshua leans in and says the stone supercharges wind magic, then he flashes back to the fight where they took down a dust slime. He breaks it down for her, saying this will let her rack up unstoppable winds. When they ask if she can fly with it, Ashiha tightens her grip on the wand and steels herself to give it a shot. She snaps her wand forward and unleashes a raging wind spell, pulling her magic together into a single unstoppable force. A colossal blast of wind erupts out of nowhere, slamming her companion's back with a brutal surprise. A brutal gust yanks Suha off her feet, flinging her into the sky as she tumbles out of control. Her friends snap their heads up, eyes bulging with pure awe as she hovers above them. Joshua blurts out with total delight that she's flying, then just watches as she rockets higher into the sky. Alia can't believe how powerful that stone is, while Suha spins through the sky like a graceful streak of light. He nods and lays the blame and praise right on the magic stone for unleashing that power. Joshua also turns and praises Ashua's incredible skill with wind magic. After a few heartbeats, she drops down from above and touches the ground with a soft, gentle landing in front of the group. Overwhelmed, she tries to hand back that amazing item, but he won't let her. He insists she keep it. He tells her it'll slot in perfectly, patching up her wings like it was made for her alone. Spotting her hesitation, he leans in and starts pitching a whole new way for her to pay him back. He suggests maybe her people, the Tengo, could lend their help. Joshua breaks the news. Hostile humans have been hunting down the Demis in these parts. He suggests the flying Tenku can scoop up priceless intel for their team. Ashuha jolts to the realization that her people could actually turn this into a real service they offer. Ilia wisely tells her to talk to her tribe about the proposal first. Asua nods and agrees, swearing that her people will do everything they can to help them. With a grim face, Ilia leans in and demands, in a solemn voice, that she be careful. She leans in and warns her to watch out for bad humans, and Suha nods like she just got the message. Asaha swears she'll come back and pay them back, and they grin and tell her she'll always have a home with them. They stand there as she rockets into the horizon, tearing across the sky on her way home. A merc leans in and says, Joshua and Ilya are sweet, almost too sweet, like he can't help but notice it. Meadow shows up and backs Merc's take on their leader's character, no hesitation. And she's like, that kindness is exactly what I love about you guys. Meta suddenly jolts Ilya's memory. This is the favor she wanted to ask Joshua about. Red-faced to the core, Ilya shyly blurts out, asking if he can make her a flute. He beams and agrees on the spot, then leans in, asking her to tell him about the instrument she still remembers. In a blink, he whips up the very flute she described, and both of them go silent from pure shock. Over the moon, Ilya thanks him again and again, then vows he'll drill that instrument until he's ready to play it. Meta can't wait and begs her to jump into the game right away so she can play it for them immediately. Ilya lifts the brand new flute to her lips, and you can feel the moment before the melody explodes. Joshua grins, already craving that beautiful sound, one that matches her warm, radiant soul. Then, wham! A deafening, razor-sharp screech tears through the air and knocks everyone off their feet. He screams her name in panic and claps his hands over his ears as the sonic barrage slams down. His desperate plea for her to stop gets swallowed by the brutal roar around them. The crew's left in tatters and daze, and Meadow can't stop wondering, was it an enemy's move? Ilya swears she'll drill the flute every day, but Mert drops to pleading and begs her to stop. A lightning strike idea hits Joshua's mind. Maybe that noise could rattle and intimidate the enemy into backing off. Ilya refuses to back down and pushes a reluctant Meta to join her so they can train together. Joshua tilts his head skyward and gauges just how far Asuha has already ripped through the air. He can't shake her hopeful smile. Somehow, he just knows she'll make it home safe. A grim narration hits. She's back the very next day. Joshua's face lights up with pride as he takes in their fresh progress. He stares in awe at their newly fortified walls because his golems and slimes just did all the heavy lifting. A voice snaps to life, calling Joshua's name, and he whips around with wide-eyed shock. Merc bursts in, breathless and frantic, shouting about a towering plume of smoke rising from the northern mountains. Far away, a brutal column of smoke coils upward, twisting like a warning into the sky. From the village wall, Merc snaps his finger and marks the smoke's trail straight to the Tengu settlement. Panic floods her face as she can't stop thinking, did they get attacked the way my people did? A sudden hand clamps onto Mert's shoulder, yanking her out of her worried spiral in an instant. Ilio steps into view, eyes locked and voice steady as she vows she'll open her doors and shelter the refugees. Joshua hands her the task, nodding like, "You're ready," and fully trusting her with it. His face snaps from calm to pure shock the second he spots something closing in. A weary Ishuha rockets through the air, wobbling hard as he hauls two wounded Tengu companions in his arms. Below her, her people scatter in wild panic, spilling into complete chaos as they flee. The refugees, kids and elders alike, looked ragged, shaking with pure terror. Joshua's stomach drops as he realizes, too late, that slave hunters just hit them. Desperate Tengu refugees start pouring into the village, calling for safety as trouble closes in. Joshua charges over to meet them and promises the exhausted Saha that they'll take everyone in. Asaho's body shakes as tears spill out, then they choke out the truth: their entire village was burned to the ground. The other Tengu spot Joshua and start trembling, whimpering like the human is about to unleash terror. One of the refugees screams, straight up, raw terror with nowhere to hide. He roars that a human is here, and that he's about to wipe everyone out. Tengu screams in pure terror, and panic detonates as everyone scrambles to flee. Ilya darts in front of Joshua and yells that he won't let him hurt them. A refugee snaps, asking why a Suha would guide them to a spot crawling with humans. As panic spirals out of control, Suha begs anyone and everyone to stop. Please, just stop. Please. Tears spilling, she insists that Joshua and Ilya aren't the same and that they saved her life. The Tendi freeze in stunned silence, and it hits them hard. They weren't just being polite, they were genuinely welcomed. Ilya kneels beside a refugee, gently brushing their fear aside as he whispers apologies for the suffering they've been forced to endure. With a look full of deep empathy, she ushers them in, feeding them and giving them a place to rest. Merc steps up to treat the injured, while Ilya offers them a warm place to sleep. Inside, the villagers rush in and start tending the battered, exhausted Tengu, bandaging every wound they can. Yar Kojnefi Xingyan and tells them that only 1/3 of their people even made it out alive. He tells them the others got either hauled off by the attackers or were burned alive. Shua clenched her fist tight, certain that a giant human flamethrower had done it. Joshua can't help but wonder, could this be the very fire mage that burned down Merc's village? Ashaha remembers how the mage's power was so monstrous, it turned the whole forest to ash in a single instant. Joshua pinpoints it. There's no way this massive blaze is anything but the handiwork of a top-tier mage. He grilled the attacker, asking if they'd used anything else, but Ashaha shut it down fast. It was only fire. She points out his wild purple outfit, and then drops the bombshell. He's got this arrogant claim that he's the fire god's own child. Joshua mouths the title under his breath, and recognition hits him like a sudden spark. Wiz ties the whole description back to an honor student from Log's family. Joshua leans in and demands anything else she knows, and Ashura fires back with a full recap of everything that happened the day before. She prowled the western sky, hunting for her missing friends like the answer was written in the clouds. In a forest clearing, she stumbled on something wild, a whole little town, built like it belonged to humans. She tiptoed toward the settlement, eyes locked on every detail, desperate to see what this strange place was hiding. With terror clawing at her chest, she watched her friends, alongside demons and werewolves, get shoved into forced labor. Joshua and Ilya both snap in disbelief when they realize other Demis are being held as slaves nearby. Suha lays it all out. This is exactly why she begged her father to forge an alliance with them. Her father needed a moment to think, and that one pause hit back hard, killing him before the day was even over. Tears streaming down her face, she admits her father was murdered by the very same humans. Joshua sinks into silence as he listens to the tragic story, his face heavy with empathy and grief. He stares around town and snaps to the truth. This place is hiding a secret base for illegal slave hunters. The whole group suddenly realizes, our own village is next, and the slavers are closing in fast. With grim urgency hanging over them, they've got to move fast or they'll drown in brutal casualties. Joshua blurts out Ilya and Ishua and pulls his core allies in close. He also calls in Meta, Merc, and Wiz for the big, crucial talk. With a grim face, he tells them, right there, that they all have to sit down and talk. The village's key players huddle together for a full-blown council of war. Joshua lays out the terrifying chance that the slave hunters could hit them at any moment. He demands to know what they think they should do if the slavers actually show up. Ilya's voice cuts through the air, sharp and unshaking. Then, we'll fight them. The villagers vowed they'd fight tooth and nail. Nobody was getting taken away. Ilya swears she'll never quit, even if that means clashing with fellow humans herself. Her resolve stays unshaken, no matter what race the enemy comes from. Sensing their unstoppable unity, Joshua bursts out and declares, "I've got a suggestion." Ilya listens with her heart in her throat, staring at the odds that are stacked against them. Joshua throws out a bold plan and dares them to strike first. Meta and Ilya stare in shock as his aggressive plan comes roaring to life. Meta hits the ground running right away, buzzing with energy and desperate to smash back at their enemies. Joshua slams the brakes on her excitement, warning that a straight-up assault would be a death wish. He makes it crystal clear their whole mission is to rip the captive Demiz out of the base. Merc locks in his plan, figuring they'll bait the enemy out, then smash right in before they can react. Joshua locks in the plan, lure them out, hit them hard, and then strike the base. He whips around to face his slime buddy, Wiz, and starts the urgent prep work. He orders Wiz to command the golems to tear into the mines and rip out a huge pile of coal. The golems immediately stomp off to handle their new duty. No questions, no hesitation. Joshua leans in and tells them that this coal is a deadly flammable rock, one they'll turn into the perfect trap. Then he shifts focus to Merc and hands her a role that could decide everything. Merc nods fast, grinning as she says, "Everybody wants to help, and I'll do whatever it takes." Joshua grins, thanks her, and pushes her to bait the slave hunters out of their base. He orders her to guide them toward the northern wall, but make sure they keep their distance. Then he leans in and tells Izaha to lead Merc and the others straight to the enemy's base. He lays it out clear. This deadly job has to happen, because only then can they spring the trap. Asahara gives a fierce nod and tells him, "Trust us, leave it all to us." Merc nods right along, her face set like stone, steady, unshakable, and ready for whatever comes next. Joshua turns to Ashaha and makes one last urgent request right before everything shifts. When she finally comes back, he leans in and drops the news. There's one more huge job waiting for her. He tells her to blow wind from the wall's top, then promises he'll spill the details later. Suha and the werewolf set off, and Joshua keeps waving until they're finally out of sight. The whole group whips around to Joshua, hanging on his next command. He fires off a rhetorical question like, is he the one calling the shots now? He doubles down on that claim, then drops a bombshell. He announces he's going to be the decoy. Ilya and Meta are left completely stunned by his sudden, unexpected decision. Ilya shoots back on the spot, insisting, no, demanding that she should be the decoy instead. Joshua shoots down her objection, saying he's got a hunch and he's not about to hide it. He orders Ilya to wait at the gate and spring into action the second he gives the signal. She hesitates, then finally nods yes, and he beams back at her with a calm, reassuring smile like everything's going to be okay. Then he hands Meta the make-or-break job of leading the defenders into battle. Meta fidgets with nerves, then swears to himself that he'll memorize every instruction in the exact right order. Joshua orders them to stack arms on the tower, leaving the girls utterly baffled. He breaks it down. Arms just means the big weapons people throw into war. To prove it, he slams his magic down and forges a giant ballista out of thin air instantly. On the village ramparts, Joshua leans in and unveils his brand new giant ballista, one massive crossbow he just forged. Meta thinks she can just fire it off, but he shuts her down instantly. No way, not like that. With a grim stare, he makes it crystal clear. This is the weapon of last resort. A stone golem stomps in, every thunderous footstep rattling the ground as it hauls a load of coal. Joshua beams as he gratefully thanks his familiar, Wiz, for delivering it so fast and right on time. He breaks down their plan to cook up flammable sacks packed with ground coal and soaked in boar fat. Then he orders Meta to light the whole area up, flaming arrows and crossbows blazing. Joshua snaps, telling his companions to brace for battle as soon as the scouts return. The sky turns pitch black and menacing, and you can practically feel the storm of conflict about to explode. In a quiet clearing, a young demon double-checks where the hay belongs with Joshua, like he's making sure every piece is perfectly set. A sharp, tense stare locks in as he rushes over the final preparations, making sure every last detail is ready. Then he spots it, the scouting party coming back, Merc and the rest standing on a distant hill. The winged Tengu, Asuha, dives down beside a huge white wolf and shouts his name. Joshua crouched low and checked in with the smaller wolf, making sure every soul in her party was safe and sound. He shoots out orders at once, tightening their forces into a deadly ring around the enemy closing in. The white wolf nods once, locked in on its mission, snagging anyone who tries to make a break. Aswa leans in with worry and asks if he's really going to take on the enemy army all by himself. He flashes a confident grin, telling her and the wolf that he'll be totally fine. From up close, Ilya's face tightens with worry as she clamps her sword in her grip. Joshua steps outside alone, a savage aura crackling around him as he braces to throw down. He feels like it's on his shoulders, like he's got to be the one, as a human, to bring this to an end. Slave hunters press on, 100% sure the werewolves they're hunting are headed their way. Two soldiers stare in stunned confusion, and one grips a blazing torch like it's about to light up the truth. Out of nowhere, a colossal wall slams into place and crushes their route. Everyone freezes in pure shock. The commander snaps that they must have taken the wrong turn, and he's ripping into his subordinate without mercy. He keeps screaming at the terrified soldier, demanding answers as they spiral off course and get totally lost. Sir Burnish, a polished young man, strides forward and swats the air with a cold, dismissive gesture. He smug as sin, he laughs and swears he always knew this was the right place. A soldier spots a werewolf perched on the wall, and it snaps back with a defiant bark. Up on the ramparts, Joshua spots the oncoming force, and it's the slave hunters coming straight for them. His face tightens with intensity as he declares, loud and clear, that he's going to talk to them. Burnish, their leader, snaps his gaze upward and stares, questioning why Joshua is suddenly craving a parley. Joshua barks down at them, demanding names and answers, who they are, and exactly what they've been doing. Burnish hears Joshua, and the moment hits. Comprehension flashes across his face like a switch getting flipped. A flashback hits, and it shows he'd already seen Joshua before, and now he instantly clocks him as Lodge's apprentice. He fires off a mocking question. Does Joshua remember him from the day he sharpened his sword? Joshua straight up denies it, but his thoughts betray him. He knows exactly who's burnishing it. Burnish erupts into laughter, then snaps at Joshua with a smug grin. Stop messing around and go to school. That insult bites hard. Joshua just realized magic engineers get shut out of every university. Burnish leans in and demands Joshua's yes, while his men slip through the nearby woods like shadows. Sparkles swirl around him as he brags, loud and proud, that he's an honor student. Joshua sneers at him in his head, convinced he and Lodge are nothing more than two peas in a pod. He calls out that hunting dummies is forbidden, and Burnish's crew just erupts in laughter. A companion lets out a sly smirk, and then it hits. She starts to unravel the twisted reason behind everything she's been doing. Meta snaps with pure fury, saying she isn't chasing money at all. She's hunting just because it's fun. Joshua's face twists as he realizes this. Motivation is even worse. Burnish flicks a flame to life and brags that this kind of wild fun is something you'll never find in university. A grim flash erupts on the screen. Charred scraps of werewolves they've hunted, burned down to nothing. Asaha's eyes widen in pure terror as a second, deadly-looking image of the fallen flying Demiz flashes into view. With a sadistic grin, Burnish savors the sweet memory of their screams, relishing every chilling second. He sneers that someone as talentless as Joshua could never even dream of feeling a thrill like this. His crew erupts in laughter as he blurts out how thankful he is. He wasn't born trash like him. Joshua whispers that he'd rather die than ever turn into someone like his opponent. Joshua hears the enemy group whispering in confusion, and he knows he has to push the right buttons. Rage surged through him as Burnish lunged forward, swearing he'd turn Joshua to ashes, because trash, no matter what, must be burned. A smug smirk, Joshua sizes up his opponent. Like it's nothing, thinking he's so easy to control, that he's basically trash. Joshua yanks Burnish's wrist, and Burnish snaps back, telling him to be grateful for the honor. While Burnish keeps flexing his arrogant boasts, Joshua tightens his fist, his own plan already locked in. He blasts his god flame. Watch it tear open a raging vortex of high-level fire magic. Joshua stared at that crushing spell, and a grim thought slammed into his mind. He can't stop wondering how many harmless Demiz this magic has already murdered. Joshua steels himself to strike back, but a confused Burnish can only stare in shock. With a steely glare, Joshua declares it's payback time, thanks to the magic storage at his command. He blasts two huge clouds of powdered coal straight into the blazing, burnished inferno. Burnish's eyes go wide in shock as the fine powder tumbles down toward his flames. Coal dust erupts with a vicious whoosh, and boom fires explode outward like a raging inferno. Meta shrieks in pure panic, begging the raging inferno to cut it out right now. With burning projectiles raining down, the enemy screams in agony and shock, getting overwhelmed in seconds. The soldier gets slammed by the roaring flames and panics, thrashing wildly to beat them back. Joshua stays perfectly calm, watching the fat spill in, because that grease will make the fire stubborn and impossible to smother. Asuha clenched her fist as another soldier's scream ripped through the air. "I don't want to die like this." The slavers get rocked into total chaos when an unexpected, unstoppable wall of fire crashes down on them. The Ting warriors explode into action, soaring over the panicked enemy soldiers below. Terrified slavers snap into panic the second they realize they're getting hit from every direction. Then they shriek to run for their lives. Meta's furious scream tears through the air, then she orders her own troops to open fire. A sharp mechanism clacks to life, and flaming projectiles roar off the village walls like a fiery warning. Projectiles start raining down, and the slavers finally spot a gate swinging open ahead of them. They scramble toward the gate in a frantic sprint, shoving and trampling each other as panic drives them forward. A soldier shrieks as the firing gongs past him, and the horror hits. This is it, they're done for. A panicked army screams orders to bolt straight for the forest, praying the flames don't catch them. As they bolt into the night, something new creeps out from the shadows between the trees, and it's more terrifying than anything before. A pack of snarling werewolves bursts out of the forest and blocks every single way out. Ilya bursts into the chaos, her calm composure cutting through the chaos like a blade. A slaver locks onto her and freezes for a heartbeat. Can't believe a woman is right in the middle of this brawl. Her face tightens into pure cold fury as she clenches her sword's hilt. She drives a blazing slash through them, wiping out several slavers in one devastating sweep. Meta barks at the other demis, demanding they fling the gate wide and surge forward to attack. The demi-human horde charges ahead, smashing through the slavers' chaos and leaving them completely overwhelmed. Joshua's wild mix of allies watches in awe as the enemy's planned route crumbles, and they succeed. The last slavers, shaking with fear, realize the forest is a death trap and rush for the river. They scatter in a chaotic stampede, their courage shattered and their will to fight gone for good. Two young horned demis were heaving with exhaustion, shouting in triumph that they'd finally crushed the humans. Meta, swallowed by pure rage, lunges forward screaming for them to not slip away. Joshua snaps to a stop in front of her and blurts out that he wants to interrogate the captives himself. The Meta-Nauts get the new mission, and they don't just want them, they're hunting to capture them alive. She blushes and blurts out a quick correction. "Wait, I just have to catch them, right? Not slay them?" Not A huge white wolf strides in, stepping over the line like it's taking over the capture, so nobody gets hurt. Since the werewolves darted away from her with ease, Meta huffed that she could have caught them too. Joshua keeps his eyes on the chase, his face locked in deep thought as Suha closes in on him. She meets his eyes with a heavy, quiet look, and then pours out her heartfelt thanks like it means everything. In a forest clearing, Suha tells Joshua, eyes blazing, that the defeated man attacked her village. One lone, dust-caked hand pressed to the ground stands as rock-solid proof of how hard they fought to win. Their victory sparks fury in the demi-humans. Roars erupt as they demand to strike. Amid the buzz of excited chatter, Ilya slips up to Joshua and demands his decision. He spots this golden opening and grabs it, but he doesn't ignore the risk, and he wisely tells them not to push their luck past the breaking point. A huge werewolf leader nods and roars that their game plan has always put their allies' safety first. Joshua suddenly gasps. Like it hits him. Wait, they don't even have to storm the enemy base. Fist clenched tight. He roars that their only goal is to break every captured demis free. And under a heavy, cloudy sky, the story snaps into this brand new strategy. Defeated human soldiers, one massive group, drop to their knees and submit to whoever stands over them. Meta beams at their win as Joshua turns to Merc and thanks her for the help that made the capture happen. With a flick of his magic, Joshua snaps together an ornate mask in an instant, gearing up for the next phase of his plan. He rounds up his key crew, Mita, Asuhe, Ilya, and Merc, and lays out the briefing. With the mask on, he strides in like he owns the moment and tells everyone, "Just follow my lead." "Ah, there!" He strides right in front of the kneeling soldiers, poised to kick off a dazzling deception. Joshua snaps his mask in place and demands to know, right away, how many men are guarding their base. A soldier jolts in fear when Ilya prowls up behind him, her patience snapping like a whip. Her blade snaps into view with a cold, razor-bright glint right beside the terrified soldier's face. Ilya yanks her sword halfway out and mutters that this interrogation is dragging on way too long. With a razor-sharp glare, she locks eyes with the soldier and gives him just 10 seconds to answer her question. The soldier yelps in raw terror, then blurts out an instant agreement to talk. He screams that roughly 50 soldiers are stationed at the base right now. His comrades scramble to believe him, begging him to spare them as fear grips their throats. After locking in the intel, Asaha gathers the werewolves and the Tengu and charges them toward their next move. She barks at them to mirror their prisoners' moves and march north toward the base. A fearsome army of demi-humans surges ahead, hauling human captives in their wake like a living war march. Joshua scans his unhurt troops and realizes the numbers finally tip decisively in their favor. Ilya leans in and asks if he's got a plan. Then he answers with a quick, confident, yup. Then he drops an audacious vow. He'll free everyone, and nobody will get killed. Just before the main force charges out, Joshua yells at a stunned Meta. A comrade snaps the truth. Half the demons have to stay behind to guard the village. Joshua leans in and tells the disappointed Meta that her job as a guard matters more than she can imagine. Feeling the weight of his trust, Meta steps up to the challenge, claps the responsibility into place, and sends him off with the loudest good luck. Joshua hands Meta a huge responsibility and tells her, straight up, that he's counting on her. Joshua snaps his arm through the air and orders the rest of his forces to surge after him. A wild mix of demi-humans and captured prisoners trudges through the thick, hilly forest, pushing deeper into the wild. Out of nowhere, a voice yells, Joshua, and he snaps around, stunned. Merc, the little white wolf, trots up to him and blurts out that they're closing in on the humans' base. Through the clearing, they burst into view of a looming fortress, and it hits them. They've finally arrived. Joshua slams the brakes on his forces and declares, hold up, I'm telling the whole crew the plan first. The whole gang of demi-humans, and their captives too, crowds in tight, ready to hear the battle plan he's about to unleash. Ilya, the blonde warrior, fired off a sharp question to Joshua. What was he planning for their attack? Joshua flashes a smooth, confident grin and lays out his simple move. Surround the fortress. Ilya squints at the plan, doubting a siege that never turns into a fight will actually pull off anything. She demands they charge through the 50 soldiers inside and smash through them, because only then can they snatch their friends back. Joshua points out the critical flaw, warning the enemy could use captives as hostages. He explains that if they track their enemy with nowhere to run, desperation will force them to make reckless moves. Knowing the danger, Ilya swallows his doubts, trusts his instincts, and hands the strategizing over to him. She swears her top priority is stopping bloodshed, matching his cautious approach step for step. Beneath a sky full of stars, Joshua shoots back, claiming they're standing in the perfect spot to negotiate. He shouts out to Wiz, the young woman traveling with that tiny slime. Joshua slams his magic down and boom, massive piles of torches pop into existence for their forces. He orders the adorable, wriggling slimes to scamper out, handing each warrior 2 torches. A werewolf and a horned demon trade words as they grab their torches from the slimes. A sea of demi-humans churns with quiet murmurs as they get geared up for the bluff. With a magical spark, Joshua barks the command light, the torches, and past the flame. The torches erupted with a thunderous whoosh, blasting the dark forest into a sudden blazing light. He barks orders for the werewolves to lock in a perimeter, stretching from the east all the way to the north. The Tendu are ordered to burst into the sky and run patrols above the fortress. He barks orders to the demons, advance from the south and haul the captives right along with you. Joshua picks Ilya, Merc, and Isaha from the captives and drags them along with him. He slips on an ornate mask, hiding who he really is before the negotiation begins. With 2 giant golems growling on either side, the masked Joshua throws down the moment, declaring it's time to negotiate. The massive fortress looms in the night, silent as a threat, waiting for them to finally show up. On the wall, a guard bursts out, shouting that their commander Sir Burnish is back. His companion squints harder, then screams in full-on panic because the commander figures aren't him at all. From the fortress ramparts, a guard freezes in terror as endless torches ring them like a blazing cage. Right beside the main group, Ilya stands there, calm as ever, her face freshly recharged while the tension in the air keeps roaring. Panic explodes in the guards' ranks, and one of them blurts a blood-curdling screech, enemy attack. In the middle of the chaos, men blurt out in total panic, yelling for someone to run straight to their leader, Circabes. Joshua's little crew watches the chaos explode in front of them, and Joshua just grins with pure satisfaction. He clocks how badly the enemy is rattled, while Ilya stays stone calm and the captive soldier looks utterly drained. Ashua, a winged girl, just stares, dazed, wrecked, and barely holding herself together after everything that's happened. On the wall, the heavy-set commander blared as Sir Kobe's shouts echoed, ordering, "Who are you? Whose army is this?" Joshua steps forward, raises his voice behind the mask, and declares he's a demi. He booms that they're the envoys of the brand new Fendal Alliance, like the whole world just got a new alliance banner. Ilya and Izua, his own crew, stare at him like they just hit a wall, because none of them have ever heard that name before. Joshua leans in and tells his friends, "I just made it up on the spot," with a calm, confident smile. Then he blares it out. This alliance was forged by demis from Findle to take down the slave hunters. Sir Kobe laughs it off as pure nonsense, then bares his teeth and threatens to tear into the fortress below. Joshua snaps back, bluntly asking whether Kobe even has a clue how many tribes his forces have already slammed into. Suha snaps that the roaring sea of fire around them isn't just heat, it's the flame of their fury. A subordinate rushes in and tells a stunned Kobe that Burnish, one more commander, has also been swallowed by the flames. Joshua's captive soldier calls out to his old commander, ready to back up the tale and prove he's telling the truth. He chokes back tears as he reveals that Sir Burnish and every one of his soldiers were erased in under 10 minutes. Sir Kobe stands on the walls of his fortress, staring down in horror, lungs tight with fear and pure disbelief. From above, Wing Tingo peers down and realizes the fortress is now fully encircled by demis. Joshua slams down his last ultimatum: free everyone right now, or he'll let death claim them all. The brutal choice hits Sir Kobe's like a lightning strike, leaving them completely stunned and unable to speak. Ashuha fires up the plan and says their golems can smash the fortress gate, so Kobe's panics and begs them to hold off. Joshua snaps back, saying they don't want money at all, only one thing: drive the slavers away and set their captives free. Kobe's advisor tells him the smartest play: break the chains, free the slaves, and bolt before they can stop them. Teeth clenched, Kobe swallows his pride and agrees to their demands, then immediately asks, "So you'll keep your word, right?" Joshua yanks Ilya into his grip and threatens to take her life as a hostage if Kobe so much as tries anything. That cold, brutal threat hits Sir Kobus like a lightning strike, sending pure terror crashing through his whole body. Blown away and crushed, he hurls out that he'll follow every single demand they throw at him. Joshua slams down the final command, orders the gate opened, and frees every last slave in one explosive burst. As the colossal gates crash open, a wave of freed demis bursts out roaring with cheers. He then instructs his 3 companions to enter the fortress and ensure no one was left behind. Ilya stares in shock as a golem whirls around and herds a crowd of demi-humans. With the mission nailed, Ilya hurries back and reports to the towering masked Joshua. She stands right at the open fortress gate, small slime and a wolf pacing at her side, ready for whatever's inside. Her face goes grim as she confirms every living captive has been freed, though some had already slipped away. Spotting dawn, creeping closer, Joshua decides they've already done enough and it's time to vanish before the light hits. Right when they're heading out, he catches the fortress commander, Kobai, trying to slink away in secret. Joshua barrels in for a showdown, and the terrified commander babbles that he freed everyone, no question. Then he vows that he and his men will march out for good and never come back. Joshua strides forward with his allies at his back and tells the defeated humans the demis aren't fools. He slams his hand down and snaps that they'll accept their word for now. The commander barks the order: every soldier fall back and retreat from the area. From the cover of the woods, the triumphant demi-humans stare as their enemies scatter and run for their lives. As Joshua walks back, he fires off a quick question: "Merc, are we being followed?" Mert checks the area and tells him the coast is clear. One of his companions blurts out, "Wait, what's the Fendel Alliance you mentioned earlier?" With a grin, Joshua says he totally made it up, just to sound way more intimidating. A flicker of doubt snaps across Ilya's face as she listens. She can't shake the fear that once their shared enemy disappears, their hard-earned alliance might crumble for good. Joshua shoots me a look when Ilya's voice suddenly spills that worry. Ashaha shoots the idea down instantly, saying they'll always stay right there with them. She insists they'll stay, if Joshua and the others are cool with it. A spark of genius hits Joshua, and he blurts out that they should expand the Fendel Alliance right now. Hope flares in Ilya's face, and she nods with a bright smile. "Let's keep working together." Joshua pauses, then zeroes in on the smartest next move for their brand new organization. He throws out the idea that the alliance needs a representative, and the moment it clicks, his blood runs cold. Right then, Ilya, Asiha, and Merc snap their heads around and lock onto him with an expectant stare. Alia erupts in a heated argument, insisting the plan only worked because he knows everything better than anyone. Ashwa earnestly insists that he's the one who should take the lead. Merc cuts in, reminding him that it was him who pitched the alliance in the first place. Joshua's torn into one part of him fears that, as a human, not everyone will welcome him. He sinks into quiet thought, weighing every risk, and he can already feel how powerful it could be to stay on the outside. Before he can even think, Alia blurts out that he's the leader and then lays down the terms like it's a done deal. The whole crew erupts and cheers, and Merc steps in to congratulate a slightly dazed Joshua. They hauled themselves back to their village, and now it sat guarded behind a brutal stone wall and a heavy gate. A huge, roaring celebration is blasting right now. Every newly freed Demise is dancing, laughing, and alive with joy. Meta leans in and greets Joshua, stunned by just how many people they managed to rescue. Joshua spots smoke curling up in the air and immediately demands to know what's causing it. Meta proudly declares she cooked up a massive feast for everyone, and it earns her a huge wave of praise from him. He admits it never even crossed his mind, and he's blown away by her sharp foresight. Meta flashes a wide grin and declares, like it's obvious, of course she'd think of him first, she's his wife. Joshua is left completely stunned when she drops her shocking, no-nonsense declaration like it's the most obvious thing in the world. She calmly tells him that honesty is a demon virtue, and she'd already planned to spill it to him. Meta snatches an amplifier and blasts out her new status to the entire crowd, loud enough to shake the whole place. Alia steps up to Meta, and with her face ice cold, she stares her down like a storm about to break. The other demi-shutter froze in shock, like he'd just seen something big, something bold, something that had everyone staring. Ilya admits Meta's sneaky declaration was way craftier than she ever imagined. Ilya ever imagined. Meta snaps back that she's only speaking facts and insists Joshua is going to be her husband. Ilya refuses to be outdone. She clamps onto Joshua's arm and shoots him a fierce, no-messing look. She blazes out that this is the kind of day you never forget. Then she pleads with him, grabbing his heart, begging him to marry her. Two women clash in a furious argument, while a stunned Joshua scrambles to get a word in. He keeps insisting he's got zero plans to marry anyone, at least not anytime soon. Merc barrels into the chaos, rubbing his leg, and jokingly swears he's his wife too. Meta and Ilya decide to end their fight the only way that makes sense, by going head-to-head in a boar hunting competition. Asaha tries to play the voice of reason, urging everyone to dig into the food that's already been prepared. Ilya realizes Joshua's exhausted too. She suddenly snaps at Suhav, claiming he's just pretending to act sensible so he can get close to him. Meta and Ilya both swear they're the perfect match for Joshua. Blushing hard, Asaha grips Joshua's arm and blurts out that she's the one who's perfect for him. Yeah, little demon kids swarm in, laughing as they smack Joshua around playfully, then thank him for the food before running off. A wild celebration erupts as the newly formed Findle alliance of demons, werewolves, and Tengo finally comes together. Joshua sags under the pressure and sighs hard, begging that his new alliance doesn't crumble before day one is even over. Later, when the feast kicks off and the whole place buzzes, the Demise dig in and savor every bite. Ilya spots Joshua missing and immediately figures out he bolted south of the village. Joshua stands alone at the edge of the settlement, eyes scanning everything with a deep, thoughtful intensity. He tells the Demise who spot him that they've got to scramble because they need more housing like right now. With a grin on his face, he tells them, "I've got to build more right now, no delays." A pristine stretch of street lights up out of nowhere, 200 brand new houses popping into existence in an instant. He spots untouched land in the south and realizes there's still room to expand later. Alio shows up, completely stunned that he managed to build all of that in just a few hours. She slides him a drink and beams a brilliant smile, praising his great work like she truly means it. He snatches the drink from her hands and blurts out his gratitude, thanking her for her kindness. Joshua stood there, sweating hard, and took a deep breath like he was about to unleash the words that could change everything. He blurts out an apology for dragging everyone into building duty, assuming they're exhausted. Ilya leans in, reassures him, and tells him the truth that everyone here is choosing to keep pace with him on their own. He can't stop thinking about how nobody ever praised him, or even bothered to ask him to help with the order. With pure joy flooding him, he suddenly yanks Ilya into a tight, spontaneous hug. She puffs her cheeks with a happy grin, then reminds him, "Don't drop your guard yet, we're not in the clear." His mind snaps right back to scheming, and he's already pushing the idea that they start farming. Ilya's jaw drops when he finds out some of the captives he just freed actually know their way around farming. Joshua can't contain his excitement. He grips Ilya close like it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to him. Then he clocks their next problem fast, tracking down rare seeds and livestock, the kind that practically don't exist. He weighs his choices like a gamble. Either storm the fortress for them, or head into the city and buy them. Joshua corners Ilya and asks if she's ever seen a sheep, and it throws her completely off guard. He says they're fluffy animals. And Suha suddenly confirms, yeah, she's seen them before. He pauses, thinking sheep probably won't be around, since they steer clear of anything risky. He begs Asuha to let him in, and Merc's watching like a hawk, because he knows exactly what happens if she stumbles on it. With a grin, Joshua bursts in and declares he's heading back to work. A stunned Asuha blushes hard, then quickly steps in and offers to stay by his side and help him out. Ilya scolds him, insisting he needs to rest after being awake for so long. Joshua locks eyes with her, and you can see his worry for her safety written all over his face. They both nod in sync and decide that everyone's earned a short break. 2 days later, the settlement exploded in size. Brand new houses lined up row after row like the town was waking up overnight. From a balcony, Joshua and Ilya lean over the rail and soak in the view of their finished work. They gawk at the skyline, grinning because their home finally looks like a real town now. Joshua announces their next project will be a steady, reliable water supply, and Ilya is completely stunned. Shaking with awe, she blurts out, "Are you really going to forge a river?" But he shuts her down and denies it. He lays out a smarter plan: dig a trench and yank the village's river water off course. Ilya admits his fresh plan still sounds like a brutal, no-mercy grind. He adds that he's already dragged a few demis into it and told them to start digging the waterway. He's counting on finishing the project by tomorrow, and once again, Ilya will be left absolutely stunned. Odd, she blurts out that it looks like he can turn anything into something. With cheeks burning, she steels herself and gets ready to ask him for a special favor. Nervous as a heartbeat, Ilya, this young woman, finally steels herself and addresses Joshua, the dark-haired young man. Fidgeting, shyly blurts out a special request right after the village waterway is finally finished. Joshua wastes no time saying yes to whatever she needs, and she lights up with a heartfelt, grateful smile. Ilya's grin widens as he blurts the exact spot of a southern spring, where warm water bursts up like it's alive. The moment they mention a hot spring, Joshua's face lights up like a bonfire with pure delight. Ilya's eyes widen in surprise. Then he laughs and confirms, "Yep, I know them, and trust me, they're really nice." Beaming with excitement, he remembers how they rejuvenate the body and wipe away every trace of fatigue. Ilya spills her dream. She wants a hot spring right in their village so everyone can finally bathe properly. After she snaps out of it and apologizes for being selfish, he leans in and reassures her that her choice is a smart one. He looks at their situation, soaking in that freezing riverbed, and finally admits, yeah, this is not how anyone wants to be stuck. Joshua figures it out, pour the warm spring water straight into the mix, and that's the smart move. Her eyes lit up. Then Ilya couldn't wait and eagerly offered to guide him straight to the location. She lights up with pure joy the second he agrees to join the expedition. Her bright smile flips in an instant, turning into a goofy but deadly growl of pure irritation. Ilya glares daggers at 3 figures who just materialize out of nowhere, shattering their private moment on the spot. Meta, Suha, and Merc burst in with full force, gripping everyone's attention as they demand answers, right now, about what's going on. Ashaha tells them she could practically feel a thrilling outing calling, so she couldn't resist and joined right in. Meta slams the brakes, insisting Joshua and Ilya can't charge into that dangerous area alone. Ilya scoffs shot down their reason, calling it nothing but a flimsy excuse to tag along. Flustered, Ilya quickly denies she's planning to bathe, but Meta cuts in. She points straight at the towel she's clutching. Joshua lunges in to calm things down, insisting they're only there to inspect the spring. Once everything's settled, a fired-up Ilya pushes ahead and guides the bigger crew forward. They step into a stunning clearing, and Joshua can't help but marvel at how breathtaking it is. When he spots the water bubbling, he tiptoes in and tests the heat with his own hand. He yelps in pain and yanks his hand back hard from the scalding water. With his burnt hand clenched, he snaps that the spring is way too hot for anyone to step inside. Ilea eagerly offers to wash his back, and before the words even settle, Meta snatches the idea like it's her personal mission. Still reeling from how bold they were, Joshua clenches his resolve and shuts down every offer of help. Meanwhile, Meta and Asaha are already giggling and splashing like crazy in the hot spring. Meadow blurts out, "Wait, are only demons immune to this brutal heat?" Asaha decides they've got to cool that water down fast for the other demi-humans. Joshua figures the water will still be warm when it finally rolls into the village. A deep, rhythmic roar suddenly pounds the earth, jolting the whole group out of their skins. Joshua's gut says earthquake, but Merc shuts that down. He knows it isn't. Esha hears the footsteps and instantly suspects a massive herd of boars is coming. Sensing danger closing in on the village, Joshua snaps to action. There's only one thing to do: investigate. He shoots an apology for barging in, but Ilea waves it off and tells him it's totally fine. Meta teases Ilya with a grin, poking fun at how insanely disappointed he is about that bath being cut short. Joshua swears to the grateful Meta that a real hot spring is coming later and they'll make it right. He tells Isaha to blast ahead and warn the village, and she agrees without hesitation. Asua rockets into the sky, blazing back home fast to deliver the message. Joshua declares it. Everyone else is heading out of the forest with him to face that threat head-on. The whole group bursts into a full sprint, flying straight for the source of that disturbance. Joshua's face tightens as he sprints, feeling the massive herd closing in. He spots a giant dust cloud and realizes that a whole horde of boars could have kicked it up. Elsewhere, a red-haired man watches in disbelief as those armored boars definitely don't stick together. Joshua and Ilya burst out from the trees, staring ahead, bracing themselves as they track the Demon King's army marching closer. They scramble up to a ridge and finally stare down at the plains, watching the chaos unfold in plain sight. Joshua's eyes flew open in pure shock when he finally saw these creatures weren't even close to what he thought they'd be. A colossal, pitch-black horde crashes across the field below them, roaring in a full-blown stampede. The creatures tear into the grass with ravenous bites as they push forward. He freezes in disbelief, spotting the herd and realizing those sheep are actually monstrous fleeps. Joshua tells him that fleeps are just sheep twisted into monsters by the Demon King's army. He keeps going, saying they're ferocious and sharp as a knife, no matter that their wool and milk are worth their weight in gold. He can't ignore how brutally hard it would be to charge that massive, deadly herd. One of the fleeps suddenly jerks back, sensing you're there on the ridge. It whirls and screams in alarm, blasting the message to the whole flock, so every single one of them knows the humans are there. The fleet's face twists with rage as it snarls that they're getting in the way. The red-haired observer snaps to it. This talking fleet has to be the herd's leader. Elias shudders as the fleet's mood turns vicious, even while he's still tasting that tasty grass. The boss fleet barks orders, herd them into the fight, and wipe out the humans. With sunglasses blazing, the fleet's leader roars at its brethren, screaming about humans and riling them into action. A brutal stampede erupts. Thousands surge forward, and the ground pounds like it's about to split from their charge. Joshua's face turns into pure alarm as the crushing force barrels straight toward them. Ilya surges in front of him, snaps that he needs to back off, and then braces to fight. Joshua grabbed Meta's attention and insisted they had to fall back to the village because the enemy's numbers were overwhelming. As they get ready to bolt, he spots Merc has frozen in place, and he snaps, "What's wrong?" Merc feels a weird little jolt in his gut, every instinct screaming, "Don't run from this danger." Before Joshua can even blink, Merc unleashes a thunderous, echoing howl that tears across the field. A thunderous howl rips the night open, and a pack of massive savage werewolves bursts in, summoned straight from the call. The werewolves bared razor-sharp teeth and snarled like a nightmare, growling straight at the incoming threat. Joshua blurts a terrified warning. He's convinced that going head-on will get them killed. Ilya locks eyes with Joshua and snaps his attention to a sudden shift in the enemy's march. The charging fiends slam to a sudden stop, locked solid in place, terror pinning them there. Confused as ever, the fleeps feel their bodies twist with wrongness, and then their legs refuse to move. One of them lets out a trembling whimper because those dog-like creatures are pure nightmare fuel, and seeing them is terrifying. Joshua suddenly realizes their predator and prey bond might be the secret weapon to finally win. Snatching the moment, he barks at Merc to lock the werewolves in around the fleeps. Paralyzed, they tremble in pure terror as the wolves start closing in, inch by inch. The werewolves sprint in and ring the terrified herd, sealing every escape route before they even know where to run. The trap grippers bleated with terror, panicking about what to do next. With the enemy boxed in, Joshua fires off his magic and forges a rock-solid wooden fence. The fleeps are totally trapped now, packed tight and squished together inside that magical corral. One of the fell eeps spots a fresh danger creeping up behind them. Right then, the rest of the village's defenders, horned and winged demise, swoop in and crash onto the scene. The fleet boss erupts in fury, barking at the others to stop acting like wimps. With her fear finally gone, Ilia snaps out the order, and they all start getting taken down, no hesitation. She slips in like a shadow, creeping up behind one of the trapped fleeps. Sword in hand, she bares her blade and lunges, ready to cut down the creature before it even knows she's there. The fleet's eyes go wide with pure panic as Ilia towers over it. Avon said, the fleet leader suddenly wobbles, then drops hard with a thunderous thud. The rest of the flock erupts in panic, screaming that their leader, Ceres, has gone down. Ilia shoots Joshua a frantic question, because the fleeps have completely lost the will to fight. Joshua jumps in and insists they interrogate the creatures, because these things can actually talk. The crew braces in front of that massive, jittery crowd waiting to finally burst into the conversation. One of the fleeps slowly blinks, sagging in total defeat as if the fight drained right out of it. Ilia tiptoes forward, voice steady as he tells the terrified creatures, "Easy, we're here to help, not hurt you." A fleet lets out the truth. They've been slammed by humans lately, and pure terror has them shaking. Joshua demands, "Are you with the Demon King's army?" And the creature snaps back with a clear confirmation. It tells how they got snatched and trapped in a nightmare, then snapped and planned their escape. A fleet bears their scars, saying the so-called kindness always turned cruel muddy water thrown at them and rotten meat served up like punishment. The creature spills the truth about how the fear never left them, because even after they escaped, every single thing was still hunting. Joshua snaps into focus and warns them, this isn't just tricky anymore, they're deep in dangerous human territory now. While the fleeps panic and bleed out of pure nerves, Ilia softly tugs Joshua's sleeve, trying to pull his attention back to her. Ilia offers to step in and help, and a shocked Joshua blurts out, "Are you sure?" With a dazzling grin, Ilia drops the decision in Joshua's hands and trusts their alliance's leader to call it. Joshua, rattled by the title, decides to face the chaos head-on with those trembling creatures. With the terrified flock huddled in front of him, Joshua boldly declares he's taking every single one of them in. Ceres, the fleet's leader, snapped her head up in shock at the sudden offer of sanctuary. Joshua pushes the idea that they turn this land into their permanent home, and it hits everyone like a shockwave. He sketches out a deal that benefits them both, demanding fur and milk in exchange for protection. The fleeps burst with excitement, shouting that they'd be absolutely thrilled to take a deal like this. Ceres pours out her gratitude, and Joshua steps forward, introducing himself like a gentleman, finally calming the creature that's been holding its breath. Joshua seals the deal with a crushing handshake, gripping the fleet's hoof and solidifying their partnership. Their fresh adventure kicks off as they stride across the grassy plains, racing toward the settlement. Joshua points out how perfectly placed this spot is, right near the river and just a stone's throw from their village. He asks what kind of home they wanted, and Ceres demanded they get her a huge communal shed. Joshua nods to their need and promises to build a huge shed big enough for the whole flock. With a thunderous doo-doon, a huge, modern shed pops into existence out of thin air right before their eyes. The fleeps freeze in shock, blaring that he's even more incredible than the Demon King's own generals. Overjoyed, they swarm around him, practically begging to hand over fur and milk on the spot. Merc and Ashua reach for the fleece wool, and it feels unbelievably soft and warm, like a cozy hug the second they touch it. Ashua's jaw drops as she feels the fur, so soft it shouldn't be real, right when Joshua decides to grab some for himself. Joshua cracks open the shed door, and, before he even steps inside, his mind is already racing with visions of fine fabric and cloud-soft bedding he's about to make. Inside, he discovers the whole flock crashed out, stacked together in one squishy, fluffy cuddle pile. He clocks it instantly. Those guys have been running for ages, and exhaustion is written all over them. Joshua finally tells them to rest, but his mind won't stop racing. He's already plotting new bedding. One of the fleet's stirs caught Joshua off guard, inviting him to sleep with them. The creature drops the bombshell that the Demon King's army didn't just use fleets for battle, they turned them into portable beds too. With a bright, happy grin, the fleet pulls Joshua aside and tells him to swing by later. Then Joshua agrees with zero hesitation. Tonight, the story flips to a vivid full moon blazing over the village. A flip is fast asleep under the covers, snoring softly like nothing in the world can wake him. Joshua curled up with his sides sinking into that ridiculously soft, cozy fluff, looking utterly content. He can't believe it. The fur is even better than he imagined. Then he suddenly feels something soft and plump. Joshua jolts his eyes open, and the moment he sees what he found, shock hits him so hard he can't even steady his breathing. He jerks back in shock, letting out a startled bleat as his eyes burn with, "What the hell did I just touch?" His hand clenches and squishes something soft right in front of them, and the other person is totally stunned. A girl with ram horn style and fierce attitude walks in and snaps at him for touching her, calling him dirty. Yes, she huffs and tells him, loud and clear, that there's a right order for their milk. Then she gives in, because she remembers the promise. Whenever he wants it, he gets it. A brilliant flash of light explodes right in front of startled Joshua, and it blinds him for a split second. He's left completely stunned, mouth hanging open, as this sudden transformation hits him out of nowhere. Two young women with sheep-like features now stand right where the sheep had been, like the world just swapped them in. Ceres rips into the truth. Because they've got devil blood, they can transform into their devil forms any time. She tells him her human-like shape will make it way easier for him to drink the milk. With a playful spring in her step, she urges him, right now, to chug every last drop. A harsh voice snaps out, Ceres, and Ilya slips in from behind her, face twisted with clear displeasure. Alia fires a reminder at Ceres. Everything runs on order, and with her presence shaking the air, authority hits like thunder. Terrified, she blurts out shaky questions. Did she screw up when she offered the milk? Alia steadies herself, tells Joshua she won't blame him for not knowing, then snatches Ceres in one sharp move. With the protesting fleet buckling under her pull, Alia storms in and declares she's setting ground rules. In bed, Joshua swallows his fear and prays nothing awful hits Ceres tonight. He spots Merc and Ashua tucked in beside him too, sleeping sound as can be under the blankets. Staring up at the moon, he realizes these peaceful, still chaotic days aren't half as terrible as they seem. 3 days later, the story snaps ahead to a crystal-clear sky. The whole community is booming, and brand new tools are fueling non-stop fishing, farming, and mining. Everyone's grinning and cheering, wrapped up in cozy fleet fur bedding and decked out in comfy boar leather like they just won a victory. A horn girl beams and proudly shows off the brand new sheds and warehouses, giving Joshua full credit for every bit of it. Joshua and his friends stare in awe as the brand new waterway gashes through the village, roaring with fresh life. A wolf buddy can't wait to dive into the water, but Joshua shuts it down fast. This isn't for swimming, it's for drinking. The horned girl grins, promising that getting water will be way easier now, and Joshua just feels like, at this point, they've done everything they can. Ilya blurts out her plan to sneak into the old fortress for scouting, and Joshua wastes no time. He decides to tag along. She makes it clear he needs her by his side as his guard, because that's exactly what her title, Chief, is for. The horned girl is panicking that Ilya could be right there, listening to every word at this very moment. Merc, the white wolf, trots right up to them and declares, "I'm coming with you too." Ilian watches everyone get pulled into their own mess, then realizes it's just going to be the three of them for now. Merc steps up to scout ahead, and Joshua tells him, "Don't worry, we'll catch up fast." The trio bursts into motion, and that massive stone fortress looms in the distance, impossible to ignore. A bunch of fleeps quietly chow down in a peaceful field as their journey rolls on. Joshua and the horned girl stride through the woods, faces unshaken and calm. Joshua snaps his head up, stunned when Merc's urgent voice blares his name. Merc rockets back to them, breathless, shouting that something is seriously wrong at the fortress. The wolf breaks the nightmare news. Every single person they saw earlier is gone, wiped out for good. Joshua's eyes go wide as he realizes the slave hunters are dead, every last one of them. He remembers Kobe, their leader, and Merc snaps back, confirming he's one of the dead. Merc drops a game, changing detail. Turns out those other humans weren't just missing, they were killed too. The horned girl quickly realized it wasn't some simple mercenary betrayal after all. She could feel something bigger lurking behind it. Joshua and his crew stared in silence, grim as stone, as the dark news crushed into them. He decides they've got to see it with their own eyes and sprints straight for the fortress. They slam into the scene of total ruin. This fortress is gone, leveled to the ground. Joshua's eyes widen in pure shock as he stares at the wreckage, then at the lifeless bodies pinned on spikes. The horned girl watches the killings unfold in brutal detail, looming over the corpse like she can't look away. She's convinced the attackers carried a massive, burning grudge toward their victims. Joshua thinks that a nearby demi-group out for revenge might have struck down those slavers. He spots it right away. Every house and every field has been burned down to the bare earth. He clings to one desperate hope, finding surviving crop seeds, and then Merc lets out a deep, low warning growl. The wolf's muscles tighten as a chilling presence creeps through the ruins toward them. With a sharp burst, bodies slam through the rubble around the trio, and several figures finally crawl into view. One of the figures, a demi-human with fierce tiger-like ears, twitches like it's sensing danger with every heartbeat. Then, boom, the ambushers turn out to be a terrifying crew of warriors, all rocking those striped tails like a warning sign. They grip their curved blades tight, raising them like a warning, standing tall, solid, and downright intimidating. Joshua's eyes flare wide as recognition hits him, and he finally spots the mysterious attackers. He boldly labels them as demi-tigers, those notorious Grant mercenaries everyone fears. The horn girl mishears the name, and just when it's getting weird, Joshua steps in and tells her they're from the state of Grank. A flashback slams us with their heartbreaking past slave hunters hunted them out and tore their home away. Joshua thinks, yeah, I'd heard rumors about them, but I never imagined I'd run into them right here. The mercenary leader, young, ruthless, and fearless, snaps her command, demanding they throw their hands up and give up. Joshua yells back, furious and loud, swearing they aren't enemies at all. They were the ones fighting the slavers right alongside them. Nia, the leader, scoffs at his claim and rips into him, calling him a cowardly slave hunter through and through. Meta yanks her katana up to shield Joshua, firing back that he's nothing like the other humans. A demi-tiger warrior strides up to a horned girl, points her out like she's property, and snaps that she's nothing but a slave. With a look full of pity, she tells the horned girl she's a poor bastard. Their blades slam together with a violent burst of sparks, snapping into a fierce lock as they battle, face to face. The horned girl shrieks "No" at the top of her lungs, and her opponent just smirks, showering her with fake praise for her strength. Joshua snaps an order to his wolf buddy, Merc, protect me while this fight rages on. He studies Meta and the demi-tiger, and realizes their power is almost perfectly matched. Worry hits him. More demi-tigers are rushing in, packing the battlefield and joining the fight. Joshua makes up his mind to step in fast, refusing to turn the mercenaries into enemies. Meta, still locked in the duel, snaps a warning at him to stay back. He plows past her desperate plea, charging ahead to unleash his crafting magic. He jabs his hand forward and screams the incantation, summoning a raging rock wall. The demi-tiger leader gets hurled backward, eyes blown wide with sheer shock. She staggers from the hit, eyes wide, trying to make sense of what the hell just happened. Joshua locks onto her face, grinning because his move actually worked. Refusing to quit, the warrior vaults onto the wall and shouts that the fight still isn't finished. An older demi-tiger suddenly barges in and roars at his daughter, Nia, to stop right there. Nia storms up to her father and insists. Joshua's group is undeniably suspicious. Her father nods and agrees, then points out the wild twist of it all, a human and a werewolf mixed together. Then he spots Meta, the horned demon, right as the odd trio finally comes together. The old warrior grins and says, "You don't see a bunch like this every single day." Suddenly, an arrow screams through the air and whips past the mercenaries, smashing their focus with sheer speed. Neo whips around, stunned by the sudden projectile that slams into the scene. The whole crew whips around in shock as a brutal attack erupts from the ruins out of nowhere. A shadowy archer steps into view, barks, "Who's there?" and dares whoever's watching to answer. Joshua freezes in disbelief as the new arrival steps in, and there's his friend, Ilia. Ilia's hand clamps down hard on the hilt of her katana sheath. Rage burns in Demi-Tiger as he charges straight at Ilia, completely ignoring his leader's order to stop. With insane precision, Ilia parries the blows from two mercenaries at once. Nia, the Demi-Tiger leader, stands there stone, still as the duo rips across the battlefield. Ilia grits her teeth and snarls at her attacker, calling him a jerk mid-battle. She screams at the mercenaries, roaring for them to back off from Mr. Joshua. Joshua watches the lightning-fast clash unfold, eyes glued to every brutal hit and how quick both fighters are. He clocks it instantly, the Demi-Tigers holding back, and one blade stays sheathed. Joshua screams at Ilia to stop, swearing her opponent isn't trying to kill at all, just bluffing and baiting her. The male Demi-Tiger swallows hard and admits his sword won't stand a chance against Ilia's overwhelming strength. Nia tells her father, "I'm joining the fight," but he steps in and stops her dead. With a cool, steady voice, Ilia's father tells his subordinate, He's not someone you can beat. Joshua's shoulders finally drop. Relief hits hard because the leader isn't hostile. The older mercenary clocked Ilia's insane speed and couldn't stop wondering how the fight would end. Once the dust settles, he drops his guard, apologizes fast, and then steps in like, "Name's Balon." The young man shoots back and tells him, "My name's Joshua." Balon leans in and demands, "Are you from the Fendal Alliance, the same merchant name that's been haunting the rumor mill?" Joshua nods and pushes further, then demands answers about the slave hunters' corpses. Balon tells them the slavers had racked up a debt, and now they'd come to collect it. Joshua gets it across, saying they'd gone to the slavers and ordered them to get out of the area. Balon drops to his knees, apologizes to Joshua's group, and admits they're completely out of anything left to give. Joshua nods and promises, "All right, at minimum, we'll check those fields for crops." With the job finally wrapped up, Balon declares, "We're heading back south." Then he whips his focus to his daughter and shouts, "Naya! Naya!" Merc asks if they've been hunting someone, and Nia flat out denies it, saying she never found anyone. Balon leans in and fires off a question. "Merc, have you spotted any other demi-tigers around here?" The demi-tiger bows to Merc, then promises, "If I spot anyone, I'll come find you." Joshua pieces the whole nightmare together, praying he'll spot his captured friends soon. A thunderstorm of thuds and crashes erupts out of nowhere, blasting through the air nearby. Balon snaps his gaze toward the chaos and instantly calls the whole situation a disaster. They finally reveal the noise. Turns out it's a total wagon wreck, piled up in the most disastrous crash imaginable. Two younger demi-tigers thrash wildly through the wreckage of their transport. The Ewans are smashed into a mangled heap, wheels splintered, frames shattered, and everything twisted into ruin. The other mercenaries huddle in panic, screaming over their smashed-up vehicles. Nia's voice cracks with fury as she screams that their precious wagons are completely wrecked. Balon stared at the broken plan and realized they'd be lugging their luggage by hand from here on out. Joshua steps up fast, raising his crafting magic and offering to repair the wagons right then and there. Nia glares at him with full-on skepticism, like, "Yeah, right, there's no way you can fix all 5. He checks the wreckage and declares it's not as bad as it looks, just the wheels and axles need repairs. Joshua flashes a confident grin and swears he can wrap everything up in just a few minutes. Nia scoffs, brushing off his overconfident claim like it's pure nonsense. She swears that even the best mages can't pull off one wagon in less than a whole full day. Joshua grins and insists those mages must have been tied up with something else. Yeah, Balon and Mia stare on, wearing thoughtful looks, but you can tell they're not fully buying it yet. Intrigued, Balon nods and lets him give it a shot, swearing he'll thank him after it's done. Joshua drops to his knees in front of the wreckage, ready to dive into his work. He decides it's smarter to start over and forge brand new wooden axles from scratch himself. With one flick of his hand, every wagon disappears in a flash. Poof like magic swallowed them whole. Neo panic snapped, demanding to know where their wagon had vanished to. Balon grabs his frantic daughter's shoulders, yelling for her to breathe, stay calm, and just watch. He admits he gets how crafting magic works, but what he's seeing right now is way past anything normal. Joshua can't believe it. He's never once seen anyone shove an entire wagon into storage like that. He realizes his crafting magic is way too advanced, even for the South. In the blink of an eye, the fully repaired wagons burst back onto the scene, looking brand new, like nothing ever happened. Balon, completely blown away, blurts out on the spot that Joshua should join their mercenary crew. Ilia snaps back instantly, her face all sharp edges, guarding like a shield. Joshua's other companions sneak in, tightening the circle around him like they own him. With a soft, knowing smile, Joshua politely shuts down Balon's invitation. Balon throws out a new plan, hire him for repairs the moment they're nearby. Then he turns to Joshua and demands to know what payment he wants for the repairs. Joshua goes straight to them and begs for crop seeds, insisting on a decent haul if they can spare it. Balon's stunned, but he nods anyway. He snaps at a subordinate to bring the seeds. Nia fires back in fury, demanding to know why they'd hand over seeds they can't even plant themselves. She drops a bombshell. Those seeds are a priceless legacy she inherited from Grant and her mother. Balon grimly tells him it's better to plant the seeds than to watch them rot. He's ready to hand them over to someone who can spark real growth. He shoves the heavy sack into Joshua's hands and points it out as Grant barley. Joshua strained under the sack's crushing weight, while Balon kept firing off sharp, growing advice to help him hang on. Once the deal was done, Balon waved goodbye and flashed an invite. "Joshua, come visit me." He pauses, and a grim seriousness sweeps over his face. The mercenary leader leans in and gives one last simple warning, watch your step. Joshua asks if he's talking about even more slave hunters, but Balon shuts it down cold. He nods and takes the vague warning with a grateful smile, but you can still see worry flicker across his face. Balon throws one last wave as his crew gets ready to roll out. Joshua and his friends stared as the mercenaries' ghostly escape trails finally vanished into nothing. A tiny white fox-looking creature grumbles under its breath, staring at the way too small stash of usable seeds like it's a real letdown. Joshua keeps his chin up and insists that even with their modest haul, it's still a damn solid start. The story snaps back in time, showing how they tore through the fields after the mercenaries finally left. Merc, the fox, followed her razor-sharp nose, and only 200 turnips were waiting. Back in the present, Joshua locks in and decides their big mission is to crank up their seed supply. He launches into a long, technical rant about how Demon King turnips absorb men. Those complicated details slam straight past Merc, leaving the creature staring in total confusion. Joshua breaks it down. These are huge, fast-growing turnips you can pull from the ground in just a month. Then he brings up the barley they got, grimacing, as he admits it's brutally bitter. But still, somehow, it's edible. Fists clenched, Joshua vowed to carve out a field where the new crops could finally grow. With a blazing, determined grin, he declares, "All right, let's start." He stands before that wild, overgrown wasteland and blasts out that it's about to become their new field. He points out that the first move is simple: rip out every weed before anything else. A brilliant idea suddenly sparks in his mind as he weighs his next move. He shouts to Sears, calling her over and summoning her flock of fluffy black creatures from out in the distance. Joshua leans in and asks Ceres and the Fleeps if they'd really be willing to munch on the grass. Ceres grins with pure cheer and instantly jumps in to help them clear the field. Joshua orders his companions to start tilling the field, right where those sheep have been grazing. He reveals Meta, the horned girl, and the sack of seeds they're about to plant. Meta stares down the pitch-black barley seeds, then wonders, are they really going to sprout, or is this a total dud? Joshua fessed up that he's new to farming, but he trusted Balon's promise that everything would work out. Alia, a blonde girl, rolls in with a crew of battle-tested farmers to lend them a hand. The villagers band together and dig into the earth, while out in the distance the fleets quietly graze. A wild mix of demi-humans kneels in the fresh, tilled soil and starts planting seeds with careful, hopeful hands. Meta's Miles clenched his resolve and charged into the communal farm work, ready to pitch in and make a difference. Ilya grips a handful of soil and seeds, ready to plant them with total care. With a bright, hopeful look, she murmurs a prayer, begging the one seed to explode into many. Joshua watches her gentle actions, a quiet, supportive smile on his face. He remembers Balon's dream. One day, he'll stand in a stunning field of his homeland's barley. Balon's memories, especially the ones with his daughter, ignite Joshua's determination and fuel his drive to make it. The whole community bands together in harmony, digging in the dirt side by side and planting the seeds for what's coming next. Days later, a little girl pops up out of nowhere and drops the bombshell. She wants a favor. He bursts out Joshua's name, like her request is already burning on her tongue. Joshua sat there reading. Then, mid-page, he snapped his head up, stunned by whoever just interrupted him. He spots Merc and Ishuha, two young girls, closing in on him, and they're coming with a request. With sparkling eyes, the two girls shout together that they want brand new clothes. Joshua asks if they're talking about special clothes made for a specific job or purpose. They couldn't contain their excitement. They just had to match their outfits so they could look like real magicians. Joshua hears what they want and nods. Then he promises to craft them with soft, plush fur. He studies how to match the magician's outfit, and the girls stare at him with held-breath anticipation. With a lightning-fast magic flourish, he instantly forges two gorgeous, ornate new robes. With pure grace and pinpoint precision, his hand seals the magical crafting at the very moment the spell is finished. Merc spins around in her brand-new outfit, grinning as she asks Joshua what he thinks. With a smug, proud grin, he praises his own flawless handiwork like it's the greatest thing ever made. He leans in and tells Asoho her new robe looks amazing, and that it'll level up her magic studies fast. Asuha shyly fires a question. What does he think of her outfit? As she lifts her leg and kicks it up. A closer look reveals her traditional footwear, and the flowers burst into bloom around her. Merc grabs Joshua and demands he keep teaching her magic. No backing out. He leans in and calmly tells her, I've already taught you every single basic thing I know. He tells her she'll need to get herself a grimoire from a school if she wants to learn anything else. She refuses to back down, pushing the point until she demands he just forge a grimoire for her. He has to disappoint them, flat out saying he can't build everything from zero. Joshua vows that if he ever gets the chance, he'll bring her a grimoire from a human town. The moment human towns come up, Merc's ears snap back in disgust. Right when Joshua clocks their disappointment, he tries to snatch the offer back, but the damage is already done. Merc locks eyes with him, her voice turning serious as she tells him she can't bear to watch him leave. Asaha yanks his sleeve hard, snapping his attention on the spot. Merc leans in and demands Asaha to spill what's really going on between them. Meta sweeps in dramatically, hauls along a massive buzzkill, and then gushes over the girls' brand new outfits. Asaha smirks at Meta and tells her that Joshua crafted those stylish robes just for them. Meta shoots a blush and mumbles that she wants a special outfit too. Merc snaps back that the magician's look just doesn't fit a warrior like Meta. Raging with confidence, Meta blasts out that she can look amazing in anything she puts on. Joshua instantly steps in, promising to make Meta whatever clothes he wants. Her anger evaporates on the spot, and a bright, hopeful smile blooms as she starts to think about it. Meta's cheeks flush, and she can't even pick an outfit fast enough. She's completely flustered, stuck deciding what she wants. Joshua and the crew stare as she wrestles with her thoughts, trying to force out a single request. After a beat of deep thought, Meta clenched her fists tight. She'd made her choice. She flips the question right back on him, pressing him to say exactly what clothes he'd want. Joshua checks out her current armor, and that sparks a brilliant idea in her mind. With sparkling eyes, Meta bursts with excitement and asks for the special clothes humans wear for weddings. The other two girls suddenly get it. Humans even have special wedding outfits too. While Joshua confirms it, Meta grabs his clothes and declares, "That's exactly what I want." Merc and Ashua burst in right away, yelling like crazy that they want wedding dresses too. Meta's announcement hits like a bomb. She's marrying Joshua, and suddenly everything spirals into full-blown chaos. Elio bursts in and tears into the others, accusing them of causing trouble for Joshua. Joshua flashes a warm smile and tells them with total certainty that he could never, ever hate any of them. Then he grins and teases Ilya, saying she might end up driving him to hate her before shaking his head like, "Nah, I never could." Ilya carefully grabs his hand, and the moment her face lights up, you can feel all the emotion pouring out of her. Tears stream down her face as she blurted out her eternal love for Joshua. A calm, happy smile blooms across her face as she soaps up every second like it's made just for her. A rosy-faced Joshua leans in and shoots back, telling her straight up that he loves her too. He blurts out that he loves every single one of them, and the whole group just freezes in a collective stare. Meta fires off an accusation at Ilya, claiming he's just trying to climb the ladder, and Ilya gets shut down with a blunt, "Don't be a pain about it." Asuha straight up declares that Joshua isn't acting out. He's just fed up with all their childish nonsense. Yao smirks and says the leader's partner has to be a calm, mature lady, just like her. While they're in the middle of their argument, Joshua can't help but wonder how he ever ended up as the leader. He remembers just days ago being asked to greenlight a couple's wedding right there in the village. He stops for a breath, takes in his new responsibilities, and realizes, honestly completely, that helping others feels amazing. A shadow of doubt slams into his thoughts, as he worries he might not be able to protect everyone after all. He steels his resolve and throws everything he has into helping the villagers. Then a painful memory of how his friends betrayed him crashes back in, ripping through his confidence and leaving him shaken. A crushing wave of self-doubt hits Joshua hard, and suddenly he's staring at his own reflection like, "Am I really fit to lead?" Ilya spots the fear on his face and asks, voice full of concern, whether he's feeling okay. That terrifying stare has everyone convinced he's scared of Ilya. He tries to wave off their worries, insisting he was just lost in thought. To draw them off, he blurts out, "Fine, I'll make clothes for all of you," daring them to stop fighting. Ilya flashes a warm smile and offers to help her with anything she needs. Meta shot a hand to her chest, praising him as their precious friend, practically her husband. The other girls throw him steady, unstoppable support, urging him to lean on them without hesitation. Joshua, the young man, flashes his friends a warm, grateful smile that says, "Thank you," loud and clear. Suddenly, a weird thump rattles the air, and he can't help but wonder if he just heard something. A tiny, fluffy creature bursts through the door, panting and blurting out that Joshua is in big trouble. He kneels toward the panting creature and demands to know what's wrong, while his friends stare on in stunned silence. The series reveals that, while grazing in the south, they spotted a huge crowd of humans. The creature snapped that a terrifying pack of orcs was hot on their heels right behind them. Joshua's gut clenches with grim certainty. This has to be the Demon King's army. His eyes widen with stunned disbelief as the impossible news of their arrival finally hits. He dashes through the village streets without a second thought, startling the watching Elia. His mind barrels forward, replaying how the Demon King's army was finally gathering speed the moment he stepped out. Racing for the gate, he refuses to look away from what's happening. Far off, he spots the dust cloud blasting upward as the horde closes in. His worried demi-human friends rush to catch up with him. He roars at them, laying out the deadly political truth, how a neutral demi who helps humans is handing disaster to everyone. He tells the horned man at the gate, "Shut it tight after I'm gone." A friend blurts out, "No way, I'm not walking into that alone, it's way too dangerous." Joshua tells everyone, if a demi lends a hand, the Demon King's army is going to ignite into full-on war. He whirls back to them, and realizes if they're tied to this, they'll all get thrown under the bus. Bared his teeth and clung to sheer resolve, he braces to take the threat on alone. He storms up to his friends, barking with fierce finality, "Stay here, wait for me." Ilya bolts across the open plains alone, and his worried call chases him every step of the way. Inside a rattling cage, terrified human refugees huddle close, shaking with pure fear. The blonde man driving the cart suddenly screams in pure despair, because he knows they're about to get caught. Joshua shows up out of nowhere, orders the stunned human to keep sprinting north, and just like that, the chase keeps moving. Swearing he'll buy them time, he watches the thankful man kick his horse into a faster run. He blasts his magic and yells the words, "Craft, fence," then a roaring barrier rockets up from the ground. Peeking from behind that towering structure, he spots the enemy right here. The brutal orcs screech to a stop and stare, as their leader's roar shakes the ground, demanding to know exactly who he really is. They burst into wild laughter, laughing at the lone, unarmed human who still has the nerve to stand against them. He grimaces and you can practically see the thought hit him, how brutally terrifying their cruel cackling always is. Even with fear gnawing at him, he plants his foot like it's carved in stone, ready to make his stand. He roars a defiant challenge, swearing he'll take out as many of them as humanly possible. An orc warrior lunges ahead with a vicious sneer, barking that Joshua will be the only one who ends up dead. His mind snaps into action. He crafts a sharp stick just to meet their charge head-on. He knows it. He probably won't get to pull off that same move twice. A sudden streak of motion snaps his attention, and shock hits his face like a punch. With lightning speed, Ilya swings one clean slash and drops the charging orc in a blur. He's frozen in total disbelief, staring at her like, "How did you even show up and hit that fast?" Ilya snaps that whoever stands against them is their enemy too, and she's ready to take them all on. Sword held tight, she begs him not to shoulder the whole burden by himself. The last orc's blurting in confusion at the shock of it all, because the whole thing just flipped on a dime. She swore she'd help him the very way he once helped her. A stunning floral pattern wraps around them, and side by side they brace themselves, defiant against the horde. He blurts her name in sheer panic just as she steels herself to charge the enemy. An orc lunges from behind, yanking its weapon up its shoulder and smashing it down toward her in a surprise strike. With a knowing grin, she slides right under his clumsy swing like it's nothing. She rips in with a lightning-fast slash that floors the orc, and he grunts through the pain. She throws down an ultimatum to the horde. Back off right now, or face her wrath, and she'll spare them. The orcs laugh in contempt at the very thought of retreating from someone like her. Their leader screams for them to strike. He refuses to yield no matter what. Joshua figures out the orcs mistake Ilya for a human, and that simple lie shields the other demise. He blares at her to hold back, then promises he'll draw the enemies away. She barrels into the chaos, ignoring his plea, and it drives him absolutely crazy. She turns into a blur of blades as he slams together a shield to stop the next attacker. She glares at the battered survivors and demands to know, do they still want to keep fighting? The last orcs cringed in fear, their bravado getting ripped apart by her raw power. Fueled by pure pride, they unleashed one last defiant roar, refusing, at all costs, to lose to her. Joshua clenches his fist as he and Ilya brace themselves for the final charge. A sharp, clicking snap cuts through the air, like a secret mechanism just got unleashed. A brutal barrage of sharpened stakes rockets over the fence, catching Joshua completely off guard. He whips his gaze back to the village, and the shock hits him hard, his eyes blazing with stunned realization. Pinned against the wall is his whole crew, every friend there, weapons in hand, locked and loaded to fight. A mismatched crew of demi-humans huddles together, crossbows raised and locked on target, backing their friends with unwavering nerve. Ilya yells his name, snapping him out of that stunned trance like lightning. She throws out a real apology for taking matters into her own hands, and her face looks dead honest. He leans in and reassures her. It's fine, as they crush the enemy and hold the line to protect their secret. Ilya lets out a shaky, relieved sigh, her cheeks blazing with the sweet heat of victory still lingering on her face. Joshua's mind snaps to the future. He knows the Demon King's army is coming, and they won't stop until they find answers. He starts to sense that their hidden village is only one reveal away from being exposed to everyone. Standing over the fallen orcs, he snarls that the bodies must be cremated. He tells Ilya they've got to harden their defenses, because what's coming next won't wait. When they finally come back, they're hit with a shock. Crowds of human refugees swarm the area, alive with noise and panic. A horn girl named Meta barrels toward them, shouting their names with pure urgent panic. She says people at the gate are hurt, and they're rushing to treat them right now. Joshua flashes his gratitude, then decides he'll go talk to the newcomers himself. Ilya throws out, "Tell me if you need anything," and Meta nods right along, sealing the deal. The human refugees, worn-out adults and nervous kids included, buzz and chatter together, like the whole camp is struggling to stay calm. A young horned demi-human stares ahead, eyes blazing with curiosity, but a worry in the back of their mind. Barak, a blonde kid, spots Joshua and bolts straight for him. He lunges for Joshua, desperate as he can be, asking if Joshua's a friend of the Demi, and he's practically begging for help. Joshua steps in and tells the frantic man to breathe. No worries, not a single thing. He tells them the Demis will help anyone, no matter what, so long as you don't come looking to hurt them. Once Barak finally cools off, Joshua leans in and demands to know where his crew managed to slip out from. Virat bears a grim truth. He and his crew are from Saberno, a city that the Demon King's army has already crushed. The news slams into Joshua as the truth hits. Every city south of him has already fallen to the conquerors. Barak calls out the ruined fate of his city and fires back Joshua's question about the army. He tells everyone that a 5,000-strong army of orcs is marching north right now. Joshua leans in and asks about their commander, and when he hears his name, it's Bish the orc. Barak hammers home that Bish is battle-scarred and fights with gear forged from demon horns. A dark memory crashes back as Joshua realizes Bish's troop just annihilated his homeland. He shoots Barak a grateful nod for the info, then maps out a safer route north. A horn girl keeps her eyes locked as the two men loom beside the refugee wagons. A smiling demi-human shoves food into the refugees' hands, urging them to eat up before they head out. Barak is struck by their kindness and asks, "Are you sure we can really take that offer?" The two men lock eyes and then shake hands, trading formal names like it's the start of something big. Later on, the refugees and villagers crowd around the same table, trading stories and laughter in one loud communal feast. Merc, the fox-eared girl, locks eyes with the humans, and right as Joshua looks up, their gazes collide. She admits it's been ages since she last watched any humans besides him. She blurts out what she thinks. One of them isn't just staring, they're waiting for something. Her sharp gaze pins down Barak, who's chewing with a troubled, faraway look like his mind is somewhere else. Barak, the blonde man, suddenly bursts upright and roars at his people to stop. Joshua watches with worry, shouting, "Barak, wait, wait, wait!" Joshua spots the chaos from afar and can't stop wondering what's about to go down. Barak rips out his refusal, swearing he can't take another drop of help because it feels wrong in his bones. With grim resolve burning in his chest, he announces they'll take on the Demon King's army all by themselves. He whips around and holds up a small wooden crate, urging Joshua to take it. Inside, a terrified demi-tiger girl shakes like a leaf while Barak lays out how he caught her. He spills his shame out loud, then swears he'll make it right and truly repent for everything he planned. Joshua's face instantly lights up as he praises Barak for finally changing his mind. Merc fixes his gaze on the kid and promises her, "I'll get you friends, don't worry, I'll make it happen." Barak grabs Joshua's attention and tells him to take care of her, because she knows Demi aren't just soldiers, they've got families too. Joshua clocks that Barak is unarmed, then magically forges weapons for him on the spot. Barak strains under the weight of his heavy weapons, and he tells Joshua straight up, "Thank you for everything." Joshua flashes a gentle smile and tells everyone he's a crafting magician. Soft smoke curls up from the village rooftops, drifting out in calm waves from every chimney. Joshua calls his companions together around a long table, like this next move is about to change everything. He blurts out an apology for dropping the news about the Demon King's army so suddenly. With D% any one-turn offers, Medellin leaned forward and said they'd all made one decision fight. Joshua nods along, but he makes it clear he's praying they can dodge a fight if there's any way to do it. He stares at their fortified walls, and suddenly it feels like a peace treaty might actually be within reach. Ilya nods in agreement, convinced that the safest move is to steer clear of any bloodshed. Meta remembers, even her ancestors prayed for peace. Joshua insists they have to get ready, because they can't afford to fully trust the enemy. Then he slams down a bold plan, get out of the village, and go fight before they can blink. Ilya's eyes widen in shock and he can't stop wondering, are they really safer once they step out from behind those walls? He tells them that a long siege will drain them dry and burn through every last resource they've got. Joshua clenches his fist, because he knows a war of attrition doesn't end, it kills. His companions wore worried faces, because they suddenly realized they could still get forced to leave. He snapped his arm up and drove the point home like a hammer strike. He insists that if they move first, they can stop the damage from ever reaching their home. It'll keep the kids and the elderly safely out of the fight. Meta drops a bombshell. Demons go feral when they clash head-on, and their power skyrockets in a straight fight. Ilya and Merc lock eyes and agree, let's save our best strengths for when it counts outside this mess. Joshua studies the orcs and clocks them as rock-solid and painfully slow plus totally helpless when it comes to magic. Ilya clocks it instantly. These guys look like demons to a T, but the demons pack even more power. He flashes their top-tier violet iron gear right in front of the orcs' plain steel. Their only real troubles are the sheer odds, the experience gap, and that stubborn orc who just won't break. He closes it all by demanding everyone's take on his deadly plan. A deadly hush drops over the council meeting, and everyone freezes in tense silence. Meta is the first to speak up, slamming down a firm yes on Joshua's proposal. Ashuha and Merc lock eyes and nod in total silence, refusing to back down. A fleet representative roars at the support crew, sick to death of being trapped behind closed doors. Merc glares and snaps that the fleeps have no choice now. They have to fight too. The fleeps nod in panic, realizing the only option left is to charge forward. Joshua gazes at them with a trembling, heartfelt look, and he thanks everyone like it truly matters. He fires off his first command, and just like that, they all march into training with their brand new equipment. He orders Merc to heal up, and tells Suha to blast her wind magic. He claims the rest of the preparations are all on him. With a fierce stare, he swears he's counting on every single one of them. His friends grin warmly, and you can practically feel how much they trust him. From the village rooftops, a voice booms back loud and clear that they've understood. 3 days later, the demi-humans were out there training hard with brand new crossbows they just forged. Meta, acting as drill sergeant, shouts the command to fire. She whips around on Joshua with a stern glare and tells him, straight up, that anyone who missed has to train harder. Joshua takes a hard look at how far they've come, realizing they're really building their own army from the ground up. The training grounds are packed with demis, swinging all kinds of weapons like they're preparing for battle. He grins like he just locked down the strongest defenses on the entire continent. Meta proudly flaunts her brand new gear with a confident, show-stopping flourish. That tiny demi-tiger girl can't stop staring in awe as Joshua forges every weapon they use. From the fence nearby, the other kids start yelling her name, waving her over, and begging her to join their game. Met nods beams as the shy girl squirms in place, then finally steps in with them. Joshua notices the former prisoner is suddenly getting along with everyone, like he's perfectly settling in. Meta finally feels the warmth, and she's glad, but she keeps her mouth shut. She flashes back to how, just days ago, the girl was breaking down and crying non-stop. They stare at the new mode, and the village's iron wall defenses blow their minds. Joshua throws his chest out and declares, like it's carved in stone, that their town won't be crushed by any army. Meadow nods along, then adds that their defenses aren't just for fighting, they can also be used to bargain. Joshua soberly reminds them they've still got to gear up because a fight could hit at any moment. His companions square up, nodding that one bold strike could hit harder and hurt less. Above the village, a brand new stone wall towers up, solid and unshakable. A glorious hot spring bursts into view, crystal clear water perfectly warm to the ideal temperature. Joshua and Meta grin with pure satisfaction as they announce, it's finally finished. The video sweeps across the giant multi-story hot spring complex the village built, like a whole world of steamy levels and soaking pools. Joshua tells them it's the reward for all their hard work. Then they gear up, ready to charge into battle. He whips around, and there they are, the other girls already stripping down at the bath. Meta snaps and starts yelling at them, furious they didn't hit the dressing room first. In the steaming water, the other demi-humans are already sprawled out, relaxing in peace. Ilya and Meta practically burst with excitement, shouting that they're getting in, then they wave Joshua in. With a dazzling grin, Ilya tells you they built him his very own private bath. Another girl breaks into a giggle, remembering just how painfully self-conscious he used to get in the washroom. Meta beams and points to a secret side area sealed behind walls, reserved exclusively for him. Flustered, Joshua finally realizes Asuha lied about what the wall was really for. A medic finally confirms that Suha had lied about it. Agenest, he protests that the bath is way too big, but Suha breaks down their logic and shuts him up. Ilya leans in real close and says like, there's no debate, everyone's coming with him. Her eyes light up as she boldly announces that washing his back is their job. The other girls erupt in protest, all begging to be the one to scrub his back too. Joshua's playful grin snaps away in an instant, replaced by a grim seriousness that hits like a punch. A brutal vision hits him like a punch, his friends sprawled dead across the battlefield. He snaps back to reality, but his eyes stay haunted and far away. He rushes over to a worried Ilya and blurts out an apology, admitting he's got something he has to handle. He tells them to rest, and while he keeps the horrifying future locked behind his teeth, he secretly lets his imagination run wild. The girls stare, their faces tight with worry, as he clenches his resolve and pushes on with the preparations. Alone in his workshop, Joshua sinks onto a stack of logs, like the whole world has vanished. He jumps into work, and with every burst of crafting magic, his materials explode outward in a glittering scatter. Focused and locked in, he keeps carving his craft. His hands blur like streaks of lightning. He can't believe his magic workshop's endless power. It's like a bottomless well of possibility. He knows he can stash massive resources and even whip up walls right in the middle of the battlefield. His mind is sprinting with new weapons ideas and projectile systems he can't stop designing. He spirals and spirals, forever building new thoughts, just to wrestle his deep anxiety into silence. Joshua kneels, a young man in his workshop, kept crafting for hours, yet inside, anxiety still clawed at him. Even though he's convinced they'll win, a heavy dread still claws at his chest. Staring down at the village from a distance, he narrows his eyes and figures they've got enough firepower to take the win. Haunting vision of Ilya's death slams into his mind, proving that even when you win, death still picks its victims. He remembers Bish, his opponent, whose troops march with gear forged from near unkillable demon horns. That truth ignites his desperation to forge more, because he has to be fully ready for whatever comes next. As evening creeps in, the sky turns pitch black above the quiet village rooftops. From far off, a shadowy figure watches as Joshua sits alone, still locked in, obsessively hammering out his creations. The moment his name gets shouted, he goes completely still, snapping out of his focus like he's been hit by lightning. Ilya leans over him with a worried stare, softly urging him to finally get some rest. Joshua spins around, shocks flashing across his face. She's right there, and his half-finished sword is still locked in his grip. With a pleading look, Ilya leans in and begs him to finally spill what's on his mind. He tells them he's always rushing in to help, and the brand new village proves it, right there in front of everyone. Because he kept helping her non-stop, she finally made it clear how much she wanted to do anything, absolutely anything, for him. Ilya looks up at him and, in a soft voice, admits she feels the exact same intense connection. He admits it, right there, saying their dedication is the exact reason he's terrified down to his bones. She stares at him, totally baffled, and blurts out a question about why he suddenly admitted he's scared. He admits his fear isn't the darkness. It's the thought of losing every single new friend and companion he just found. He looks back on his past and remembers when life felt easy, before he had any friends at all. By then, he had burned through everyone, so there was nobody left to lose. Now, he finally admits it. He's met her and all the others in this special place. Ilya's eyes burn. One tear slips down his cheek, trembling with the weight of everything he feels. When he sees her cry, panic slams into him, and he blurts out that he's never regretted meeting any of them. She smirks, small and sweet, like, I'm thrilled you love them that much. He softly admits it's true, and in that moment his feelings for them become crystal clear and impossible to deny. He tells you the real reason he's terrified isn't the danger, it's the burning need to protect everyone. She slips her hand into his, a soft, steady grip that anchors him right in the middle of everything. Stunned by her move, he blurts out, "Wait, have you felt it too? Is it the same for you?" With tears streaming down her face, Ilea finally snaps, "I'm not scared anymore, he's here." The camera zooms into her eye, and you can practically see her fresh resolve harden into iron. She's convinced that if he stays right beside her, they'll stand together, protect everyone, and make it happen. Aya's with unwavering conviction. She begs him to believe in the power of their strength. With a glowing smile, she pleads with him, "Don't you dare carry every single burden alone." Joshua looks at her, and his face softens. Her fierce words of support hit him right in the heart. Then he pivots straight to the orcs they'll be fighting next. He leans in and tells her, "Our general, Bish, fights with weapons forged from demon horns." Ilia's face hardens as she weighs the terrifying truth behind her enemy's weapons. He breaks it down. Those horns are insanely tough and powerful, and somehow Bish's armor looks flat out unbreakable. She can't help wondering if they're really unbreakable, like even when other terrifying demon horns come swinging at them. Ilia steps closer and makes it clear. A weapon carved from their horns might be the key. A look of shock snaps across Joshua's face. As the moment hits him, her brilliant idea finally clicks. She lifts her own precious horn, an elegant dark curve, holding it tight in her hands like it's priceless. He's completely stunned, because he finally realizes it's the same one her father guarded with his life. She tells them, "It's priceless, so I'm going to use it to shield you all." Joshua is completely shaken by her selfless, stubborn vow. He can barely whisper her name. He raises his hand, fully decided, ready to swallow her unbelievable sacrifice and live with it. Punching the horn in his grip, he nods along and agrees to her request without even a second of doubt. With a blushing grin, he swears he'll forge something truly wonderful from it. Ilia flashes a huge, joyful grin, pushing him on to get back to work. While Ilya watches, Joshua kicks off the forging process, his magic spiraling around him like living fire. He notices the horn isn't violet iron, and with a snap, he forges it in just a minute. The horn bursts with light, drinking in his mana like a bottomless void that never ever gets full. Above them, the night sky looms as the unstoppable crafting magic keeps forging forward, like it's building fate in real time. With his hand thrust forward, he snaps out the words, "The forging is finally done." He proudly raises the finished weapon high, an absolutely stunning, shimmering new katana that practically steals the light. He breaks down its powers and swears it'll bounce off magic like it's nothing, and slice through anything in its path. Ilia grabs the sword, eyes blazing wide, and she pours out heartfelt thanks like she can't believe what she's been given. She clenches the hilt tight, and vows that with this blade in hand, she'll protect everyone, no matter what. Joshua clenches his fist, nodding like a vow. "We fight this battle together, no one's facing it alone." Ilia wears pure resolve on her face, and she nods back with fierce determination and bright, happy confidence. He leans in and tells her, straight up, she has to get some rest before the fight. The very next day, their calm morning gets shattered when an urgent arrival comes barreling in. A winged scout dives from above, shouting that Demise with cat-like features are closing in fast. Joshua and his horned partner lock eyes and instantly figure out exactly who that approaching group is. From the horizon, they spot it, an endless army charging toward their massive fortified walls. The sharp scuff of footsteps on the bridge hits like a drumbeat, and you know, right then, the leaders have arrived. The mercenary demi-tiger, Balon, and a second girl froze in shock because they instantly recognized Joshua. Joshua and his crew snap around, staring at the oncoming mercenary and locking in who it really is. The other demi-tiger girl snaps her fist tight, shooting out an affectionate meow like, "Hey, you know me?" "Know me." Reese, the rescued demi-tiger kid, rockets ahead with a fierce little cry of "Sis." Caw. The two demi-tigers slam into an intense, tear-choked embrace, finally reunited after everything. Reese bursts into tears of relief, gripping her long-lost sister with a tight, trembling embrace. Joshua double-checks with Balon, and when she finally admits it, there's shock in the room. Turns out the child is her daughter. Balon tells them the child got saved by the humans who had walked through earlier. She takes in the news, and a calm, thoughtful look settles on her face as she processes it. With a serious stare, Joshua leans in and demands to know why Balon has come to their village. She huffs that she has to march a message straight to the Orc General Bish, and she's not exactly thrilled about it. When they press her for answers, she leans in and says, Bish is rolling past that nearby road in just 2 hours. She drops the truth like it's nothing. This is their one shot to get their business done with him. As the mercenaries peel out, Joshua stands there watching them vanish, lost in deep thought. Meta, the horn girl, lets out a savage growl, furious that Balon didn't even so much as thank them. Joshua clenches his fist and forces himself to stay locked in on their plan, even though doubt keeps clawing at him. Meta and Ilya nod at each other, ditch the guards inside the village, and start rallying their forces for what's next. Ilya slams the plan down. They're heading to the road to intercept the Orc General Bish. A fresh chapter kicks off with sprawling mountains and dense forests stretching under a stormy, cloudy sky. Ilya strides up to Joshua, all set to deliver her report on their army's deployment. She confirms every last one of their troops is already in position for the coming battle. Actor, a tactical map flashes their setup, demons, werewolves, archers in formation, and those crushing, powerful golems looming like a wall. Meta steps up, totally confident, saying that with everything they've set in place, there's nothing to fear. Joshua clenches his fist and admits he's still holding on to the hope of a peaceful way out. He holds his ground, waits for the enemy to show up, and admits, straight to himself, that fear is still clawing at him, even with their power standing there. Ilya softly takes his hand, and with that one quiet gesture, she steadies his heart and reassures him. Her touch jolts him, but when she's there with the others, the panic melts away, and he finally calms down. He flashes a small, grateful smile, and you can tell it hits him how solid his friends have been all along. The earth shakes violently as that brutal orc army finally charges into view, roaring like thunder. A tight little squad holds the line, refusing to back up, and they just wait, cold-blooded, for the enemy to finally show up. Commander Bish towers over them and demands to know exactly who they are, eyeing their mixed-up crew like they're trouble. Joshua steps forward with his crew beside him, introduces himself, and declares them, loud and clear, the Fendel Alliance. The York commander squints at the unfamiliar name, stuck in his thoughts as he studies this weird little gathering of Demis. Balon twists the truth from the side. Turns out they're the demise stolen from the fortress. A sinister goblin commander steps forward and proclaims this new territory his, then demands total obedience from everyone, no questions asked. Joshua plants himself in a solid neutral stance, shutting down both the fighting and the helping. The goblin leader sneers and laughs at their tiny crew as they try to bargain for terms. He jabs a sharp point with his finger, ready to drop a blunt ultimatum. His monstrous demand? Every single year, 10 living demons must be sacrificed as tribute. He blurts out that he wants even more weapons forged from those brutally tough horns. Joshua leans in with rage blazing, shouting that they'll never hand anyone over. The demi-tiger Balon glares at the goblin, seething at his arrogant defiance. Joshua steps forward and flashes his sky-high crafting skills like he's exactly the magician they've been hunting for. Commander Bish twitches his eye, and you can see interest flash across his face. Balon confidently swears that Joshua's crafting skills are unmatched. He's seen it with his own eyes. Joshua suddenly gets it. Balon isn't just teasing, he's offering it up. He staggers under the weight of one brutal thought, giving up everything to become Bish's personal slave. The idea of his friends getting to live in peace makes every painful, brutal cost feel like it was worth it. Ilya snatches his hand with a death grip, swearing she'll never let him face the world alone. She barrels into him, demanding to know why he'd sacrifice himself for them. Crouched behind her, he watched her move and insisted his self-sacrifice was still the best deal he could make. Ilya fires up and reminds him he fought for everyone, not just for himself. With fierce conviction, she swears she'll never walk away from someone as selfless as that. Meta and the fox girl screech in a possessive frenzy, loudly claiming Joshua as their own. Ilya snaps back that he's hers, and dismisses the other's claims as downright pathetic. Meta drags Ilya for acting mature right after she just tore into the argument. Flustered, Joshua snaps that this is not the moment for their bickering. The girls stand shoulder to shoulder, swearing they'll never let Mr. Joshua slip away. Balon huffs in frustration as the enemy commander cackles, loving every bit of their inner mess. Bish admits he never planned to negotiate at all. He's set on taking them by force instead. With a thunderous roar, the orc commander snaps his waiting army into an all-out attack. Meta rockets into the chaos, barking at her opponents, "Don't you dare make this fight dull." An orc warrior sneers, burning with fury at the sheer audacity of a female demi-human. Her massive weapon slammed into his with a brutal collision, and the metal screamed as it buckled under the sheer force. The blast smashes the orc's weapon to pieces and rips jagged cracks straight through the ground. Its comrades whisper of shock. He can't even believe it, stunned by how she just ripped through the impossible with sheer strength. The goblin commander rallies his troops, barking for them to keep their heads on. No panic, no mistakes. Meta strides in with total confidence, claiming their combined power will smash every enemy in their way. The Demi Tiger Balon gets a command, then charges in from the shadows to smash the enemy from behind. Joshua snaps to the truth that the enemy somehow knew about his hidden troops, but he doesn't flinch, still confident as ever. Spinning toward Ilia, Meta swore he'd shield Joshua from every enemy that came charging in. Meta screams with pure urgency at Ilia to push straight into the thick of the fight. Ilia bears her trust in Meta with fire in her eyes as she braces to slam forward. With a wild, powerful leap, Ilia crashes down on the goblin horde, sword flashing as he strikes. Her blade whips through the air so fast it turns into a blur, slicing down a whole swarm of goblins in one unstoppable swing. Goblins scream in agony and rage as her brutal assault tears into them. Meta screams in agony as she slams herself into the attack meant for Joshua. Ilia stands her ground alone, fighting off a whole wave of goblin soldiers with pure grit. The goblin commander gapes in shock as his forces get wiped out by Demise. Rage blazing, he tears into his faltering soldiers, questioning their honor. Meta and Joshua spotted the chaos roaring from behind and immediately wondered, what the heck is going on? A frantic goblin soldier sprints to his leader, gasping out that something's gone wrong inside their ranks. He snaps that their back line is getting wrecked and the Demi Tigers have betrayed them. Joshua freezes in shock when he spots Balon's mercenaries diving into the battle. The White Wolf, Merc, rockets toward Joshua, desperate to spill what's going on. Joshua finally slips to Merc that this sudden twist blindsided him. Still not trusting Balon's motives, he raises his voice and orders something new. He tells Merc to kick off their operation, then hammers the rule, don't lay a finger on the Demi Tigers. The goblin commander clenched his jaw and spat curses at Balon, rage pouring out over the betrayal. Balon's forces smash into the goblins with savage fury, and the goblins howl over the betrayal that came at the worst possible moment. Merc's sudden howl rips through the battlefield, freezing the goblin soldiers mid-fight. The forest parts and Winged Tengu bursts into the scene, right into the house's sights like a thunderclap. Horned demons and werewolves burst out too, flashing their secret power like it's finally time to play. Yeah, the goblin leader sneers like it's nothing, because he's known about those hidden troops the whole time. A colossal whirlpool of water slams down from the sky, crushing the goblin army under its roaring weight. A brutal torrent rips through their ranks, blasting the surviving soldiers into the chaos. York Commander Bish leans in, hearing Ilia declare, the battle is over. If facts of the east side she offers a brutal bargain, step back to your homeland right now, and she'll let you live. Bish slams his foot into the ground, and, with a loud grin, announces himself as the king of all orcs. He brags that he's the strongest, swearing he's destined to one day slaughter the Demon King. Blonde warrior Ilia drops a bombshell. She bears her demonic heritage to the orc commander, Bish. With a thunderous laugh, Bish cruelly tells everyone her missing horn is what he turned into his weapons. Ilia shoots it down without hesitation and explains that her horn is the very one her father brought back for her. A spark of recognition ignites in Bish's eyes. The second he clocks who she is, he locks eyes on her and realizes she's Ultra, the demon chief's daughter he battled back then. She snaps at his claim that her father ran, but Bish cuts in and corrects her on the spot. He tells her that her father only charged back after his own horn got shattered. Then he ran out of strength to keep fighting. Then the orc commander leans in and orders her to stare hard at his weapon. Spinning the spear in his hands, he flashes its tip crafted from her father's horn. With a sadistic grin, he vows to mount her horn right next to it on her body. Rage flares in Ilia as she surges forward, her sword crashing into his weapon with a violent ring. Bish sneers, "Are you losing your temper?" And her face twists in pure, blazing fury. He unleashes relentless fury, screaming for him to hand back the horn, one he never had any right to possess in the first place. The orc commander coldly shuts her down, sneering that her father is nothing but a weakling. A brutal flashback rips open. Her father claws his way into sacrifice just to get her horn back. Crushed by grief, she erupts in denial, screaming that her father was never weak. From the sidelines, her friends scream warnings at her, begging her to shut out his taunts. Rage clouded her vision, and she lunged with a wild swing, only to miss her target completely. Bish snatches the moment and slams his massive weapon down in a bone-crushing arc. The attack slams down in terrifyingly fast motion, and Ilya just stares, frozen in pure shock. Joshua lunges into action, urgently hurling a spell to slam down a protective wall. A blazing magical flash tears through the ground. Then a massive stone wall erupts up like it's alive. The weapon slammed into the barrier with a thunderous explosion that rocked everything. The wall explodes into shards, and just as everything seems doomed, a blast wave rips through, only for it to hurl Ilya back and keep him alive. Joshua rockets to her side, shouting her name as she lies crushed in the rubble. He hauls her up and listens as she blurts out apologies for that reckless stunt. An ally eyes Bish's armor, and Joshua decides to become the perfect distraction. Ilya snatches his arm, and in her eyes, fresh resolve ignites like a spark. She flashes their promise in his mind. No backing out now. They'll face this challenge together. Staring up at the intimidating commander, Joshua quietly nods and agrees to her play. With one fierce look, they lock in their resolve and team up to take him down. From far away, Bish lets out a furious roar, screaming that they're weaklings after all those efforts. He says it with iron certainty, they'll never ever beat him. A colossal blast detonates right where the armored figure's head is, and the shockwave hurls them stumbling backward like they've been punched by the world. The red-haired ally leans in and admits how he saved everything with one desperate move. He hurled a gunny sack of coal. Even after he lit the thing up, he's fuming, because Bish, the enemy general, is still standing, alive and breathing. Through the choking smoke, Bish stood tall and roared that he was the strongest warrior on the whole field. The orc commander goes wide-eyed when his opponent unleashes a shocking surge of power out of nowhere. Ilya's blade slammed into Bish's weapon with a brutal clash, and sparks erupted everywhere from the shock. Her blade screams under the brutal weight of the orc's crushing strength. You can feel the locked weapons straining as the ground beneath them splits with a brutal crack. From the edge of the chaos, an allied orc soldier watches Ilya's desperate fight unfold, seconds before the battle fully swallows him. Joshua realizes the tide of the whole battle has swung hard in their favor. He finally gets it. Ilya isn't just fighting Bish to win, she's fighting to tear open the past and avenge her father's death. Bish erupts into a wild, maniacal laugh, taunting her with one brutal thought: hornless demons are completely powerless. Ilya clamps down on the sword hilt with a death grip, and her hands start bleeding from the sheer force. As her strength starts to slip, Joshua roars encouragement at her, pushing the confidence back into her, telling her she's got this. Bish jerks back in pure shock, trying to wrap his head around the sudden surge of power roaring through him. Dark energy churns around Ilya's sword as it drinks in the blood pouring from her hands. The orc's jaw drops as her power skyrockets out of nowhere, like the universe just flipped a switch. A horned demon woman gasps in awe as she realizes Ilya's blade is drinking her blood. With a primal scream, Ilya gets wrapped up in a violent, swirling dark aura. The tables flip in an instant. Bish gets shoved backward by the female demi. He fights for every inch, his feet clawing into the dirt as her overwhelming pressure crushes down on him. The crowd gapes in shock, unable to believe the Orc King is actually getting beaten. A thunderous crack erupts, and that massive weapon starts to buckle under the pressure like it's about to snap in half. Ilya lands one last, crushing blow. His weapon explodes into pieces, and the strike drops his opponent for good. The surviving Orc soldiers whisper in shock, unable to believe their fallen leader is lying there. Ilya stands tall, victorious, looming over Commander Bish's defeated body. The orcs are left frozen in pure disbelief, while their boss and commander are suddenly gone for good. They're left reeling because the one commander everyone swore was unbeatable is suddenly dead. A goblin soldier jolts in panic as the truth of their general's defeat finally crashes in. Oh, the horned demon woman cackles with pure triumph, shouting that Ilya just took out the enemy general. The whole allied army explodes into a thunderous cheer, shouting victory like they've won the war with their bare hands. Smoke curls over the quiet battlefield, drifting in after the last cheer fades away. Joshua stares in stunned relief, still trying to process the fact that they actually won. A bunch of diverse demi-humans throw their arms up and celebrate their hard-fought victory together, side by side. Ilya and the horned woman lock eyes and break down in tears, joy and relief pouring out as the celebrations roar around them. The demi-tiger mercenaries comb through the spoils of war, snatching treasure like it's going out of style. Joshua blurted out to their leader, Balon, the cat-like demi-human who ruled them all, He strides up to Balon and pours out his heartfelt gratitude for the help that saved everything. Balon waves off their gratitude on the spot, saying they're only tagging along on his success. He shrugs and says they just backed the winning team, nothing more, nothing less. With a sly grin, he shrugs and says betrayal is what they do best. Joshua keeps pushing forward, thanking Balon again even after Balon shoots him down with cynical remarks. Balon snaps that there's no need to thank them, because they're the ones walking off with every last scrap of loot. He spills the truth. Long before anything happened, they'd already decided to flip sides because it was bad for business. Joshua couldn't shake the fear for what's coming next, knowing their betrayal is about to come crashing down on them. He throws out an invitation to the Grant mercenaries, urging them to team up with their Demi alliance. Balon's jaw drops when this totally unexpected offer comes out of nowhere, and it's generous to the bone. Balon's lips curl into a small, amused smirk as he weighs the proposal. He politely refuses, admitting he's tough to impress and just can't stand being stuck in one place. Joshua grins warmly and tells him, "Don't worry, come any time, you'll be welcomed." Balon admits he could consider it if things get ugly, but he warns them they're being selfish. Twisting his weapon, he snaps at Joshua to brace himself, because that outcome could hit any moment. Joshua watched the mercenaries march away, and he waved back one last goodbye. On that silent battlefield, Ilya looms over Bish's fallen body. She drops to her knees, eyes locked on something right there on the ground. Joshua spots her and sprints to her side, closing the distance in a flash. He beams at her and hypes her up for taking down an opponent that strong. Joshua nods and admits it, their enemy is brutally, unbelievably strong. Alia stares at him and blurts out that he didn't just fight back, he even avenged his hometown too. She brushes off the praise, insisting the victory wasn't hers alone. She credits Joshua and every single friend who stood by her for her success. With tears streaming down her face, she breathes out that she finally got it back. She carefully plucks the spear tip carved from her father's horn. Joshua clocks it. Balon scooped up nearly all the loot, but still ditched the demon horns behind. Alia hands her father's horn back to him because the whole village needs it. She begs him to keep it safe until the moment finally arrives. Joshua shuts his eyes for a second, then nods hard and murmurs a calm, decisive, "Okay." The horned woman can't even believe it. She's staring in shock, stunned that they actually beat the army. She grabs the whole spotlight for their victory by praising Joshua's leadership as the reason they won. A scrappy little fox-like creature nodded in agreement, confident that it all made sense because he was smart. A fox snuggled up to Joshua's leg, rubbing close like it adored him. All the other girls crowd in and start patting his head, showering him with gratitude. Alia flashes a warm smile and gladly credits everything to Mr. Joshua. One of the girls snapped that they only managed to win because he stayed right there with them. Joshua quietly shuts down their claims, then tilts his gaze toward the sky. He insists their win wasn't luck at all. It was because every single person gave it their all. With a sincere, heartfelt grin, he pours out his thanks to all of them. He cranes his head toward their towering walled village and declares, "All right, time to go home." Next day, the clouds cleared out and a calm, bright sky hung over the village wall like nothing could ever go wrong. A winged scout, Asaha, plunges from the sky like a meteor, shouting for Joshua. She swore she'd found zero sign of the enemy army to the south. No tracks, no movement, nothing. Relieved, Joshua leans in and pitches a victory feast for that very evening. He decides to stroll through the village, hunting for anyone who might need help. His peaceful stroll gets slammed to a stop when brutal shouts erupt and weapons clang like thunder. He storms onto the training grounds and catches Meta snapping at her trainees, blasting them for every ounce of weakness. Meta's fierce intensity melts the instant she locks eyes with Joshua as he comes closer. She bursts up to him, calling his name at full speed, practically vibrating with excitement. She beams and fires a bold question. "Did you come just to see her heroic self?" He tells her he's only checking the supplies, and she lights up, saying they've got everything they need. He smiles and promises to make anything else she wants. Meta snaps into a thoughtful silence, weighing exactly what else she wants. She nods in total silence, staring at him like her gaze could cut straight through. Her blazing, blushing stare pins Joshua in place, and he's completely clueless. With question marks crowding the air, he leans in and demands to know what's wrong with her. He tells her, "If you're too embarrassed, just lean in and whisper your request to me." She snaps his attention, tugging his sleeve and pushing. "Come on, hear me out." Hear me out." She leans in so close her hand cups his ear, whispering her secret like it's burning a hole in her mouth. With a shaky whisper, she dropped the wildest request of all. She wanted him to have her children. Joshua's face twists into full-on, jaw-dropping shock the moment she says it. Meta flat out says she wants a ton of them, her face dead serious. Joshua is overwhelmed. He gasps out a panicked plea and tears out of the scene. Shocked by Meta's proposal, Joshua bolts into the chaos, bleeding like a frightened sheep that's just been yanked from the herd. With spiraling eyes, he replays that humiliating, sheep-like escape like it still haunts him. Crouched behind the building, he finally admits to himself. He came this close to snapping and losing it. Merc catches him with a red-hot face, and the guy blurts that he was only jogging, nothing more. Mert changes the topic with a grin, proudly declaring she's turned the fridge colder than ever. This practical news hits Joshua like a truck, because now he knows they'll need a bigger refrigerator way sooner than he thought. He weighs how well they've been hunting, then slams down the rule. From here on out, they set a strict daily limit. Merc nods and steps up. She personally sets the new hunting limit herself, cutting off overhunting before it can spiral. Joshua's smile drops, and he turns deadly serious. We need to talk, and it's important. With bright, sparkling eyes, Merc blurts out a bold marriage proposal, straight to him, and it hits like a total shock. He's left totally speechless, frozen by her sudden serious declaration. She stays cool, then drops the bombshell. Their next move is to have a child. She tells you this kid is destined to take over her tribe as the next successor. As the text, a flustered Joshua finally catches on. She's pushing for a formal engagement right here, right now. She leans in close and drops the rule on him. Werewolves can't marry until they hit adulthood. A sharp, self-assured smile dances on her lips while she waits for his decision to land. Reluctantly, he caves in and goes along, praying that later she'll spot someone else. She claims him as hers and yanks him into a crushing, possessive hug. Reeling from what she just did, Joshua snaps, "What are you doing?" She tells him she's sprinkling her scent all over him, branding him like he's already hers. Flustered to the core, Joshua endures her sweet nuzzles as she marks him. I Branken, a tiny slime whiz pops into view and blurts out their names in shocked excitement at what he's seeing. Later, Ashuha glides through the air with effortless grace, itching to show Joshua how much her flying has improved. He softly tells her she doesn't have to, because her flying is already amazing. Merc suddenly bursts in, yanking Ishuha's arm and smashing the calm they were finally getting. Joshua gets stuck right in the middle, as Merc yanks him by the collar, demanding all his attention. Merc tells Suha she's in the way, but Suha pushes past it and demands her demonstration. Joshua tries to step in and tells Merc to hold up, while Ashuha swears she'll be right back. Ashuha draws in a breath, then snaps her wand forward with a fierce flourish, ready to unleash her magic. Joshua's jaw drops when her wind magic yanks him clean off the ground, launching him into the air. He stares down, completely stunned by the bizarre rush of floating through the air. Ashuha beams and proudly reveals that her wind magic training has finally unlocked brand new abilities. Now she doesn't just take to the skies on her own, she can make anyone else soar too. Joshua blurts out a gasp of total disbelief as he watches her unleash an insanely incredible new skill. Side by side, they stared up at the sky-high view over the sprawling village, and he couldn't help calling it awesome. Awesome. Asaha stares at him, watching him gasp in awe at the jaw-dropping view from up here. She remembers the story of how he turned that once ghost town into a thriving village, fast. He humbly admits he didn't build much at first. He just worked quietly while everyone else rushed in to gather the materials. She gapes at him with pure admiration and tells him straight to his face how refreshing his modesty is. With a warm grin, he shoots her the same compliment back. She's no selfish either. A thoughtful spark flickers across her face as she braces to ask for what she wants. Up in the clouds, she leans into the wind and asks, "Can I be selfish just this once?" Joshua shoots him a surprised look, then says he'll go along, as long as it's something he can actually do. Asaha blurts out a marriage proposal, and Joshua starts yelling back in pure, exasperated frustration. She vows to stay by his side forever, promising she'll protect him and never bring him a single problem. She warns him, loud and clear, that she's not about to play nice or back down in front of everyone. Before he can even blink, she yanks him into a crushing hug while they're still in midair. She makes it crystal clear she'll only mess with him where nobody can see, out of sight and out of reach. She clings to him and begs him to finally understand just how deep her love runs for him. Joshua is flustered. He admits what she means to him, but the whole moment hits too hard, and it overwhelms him. Right behind him, a terrifying demonic figure materialized, spilling out a suffocating dark aura. He shudders, hit by a deadly, murderous urge that sends fear ripping through him as he trembles. Below, the villagers hush into panicked whispers as they feel that crushing presence press down on them. The mask comes into view, deadly, horned, and Hania's terrifying face glaring back. The Oni's terrifying presence smashes through Joshua's senses like a tidal wave. He starts to wobble and rattle, and his balance slips out from under him in midair. Panic slams into him, and he blurts that he's completely losing his balance. Joshua bellows his name as both of them plunge out of the sky. Isilia sinks into the memory. He's haunted by a mythical creature, its face twisted into something terrifying and otherworldly. That memory snaps into place. One moment it's a blur, and the next it's a Hania mask staring back, wrapped in the shape of an Oni. She can't forget the last time Hania screamed her name, like it was seared into her soul. The creature's face had already reshaped into her own, and terror hit her like a wave. As Joshua crashes to the ground, he throws his hands up to fate, convinced this is it, he's finished. A weird calm washes over him, like he's certain death is right around the corner. His vision dims, and Ilya's faint cry is the final sound that slips into the dark. Reality snaps back in a dizzying blur, trapped inside a trembling, gelatinous bubble. On the ground, he presses his fingers to his face. Relief floods him, but confusion hits right after, because he can't believe he's still alive. Ilya explains that the Fleeps finally got away, cushioned his fall, and now they're completely wiped out. He blurts out where everyone went, his gut screaming that he just caught a glimpse of something forbidden. Meanwhile, the other girls hustle like crazy, cooking up everything they need for the evening's feast. Alia checks in with Joshua and tells him everyone's fired up, laughing together, and getting along perfectly. Joshua grins, already mapping out his next move, stocking up on food for the days ahead. He whips around to Ilya and suggests they hit the trails and gather again. Then she nods right away. With a tender flick of courage, Joshua gently slides his hand into hers. He lets out a low chuckle and clamps down harder on his grip, swept up by the calm happiness on her face. With a bright, radiant grin, Ilya vows that they'll stay together no matter what. He scans their village, then grins like he can finally breathe, telling her how thrilled he is to be right here with her. Joshua breaks into a warm smile, and you can tell he's fully on the same page, happy, in sync, and meaning every bit of it.